Welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, July 8th, 2020. As always, we begin our deliberations with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be brought to us this morning by Major Robert Pfeiffer of the Salvation Army. Major, thank you. Please stand.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord, we call upon you today to come and be our guest. We ask for your guidance, your wisdom, your strength upon our leaders as they make decisions. We ask a special blessing upon this city today. We ask you to watch over our first responders, our police, our firemen, and our EMTs. We ask for your grace and your protection. We also remember today those of our citizenry that are suffering with this pandemic, and we ask Almighty God for your healing power and your strength. Now bless the deliberations of this council today and all that takes place, for we pray this in your wonderful name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the meeting to order. Ms. Bochamp?
We have no proclamations this morning, and we have no presentation scheduled.
We're at the point of citizen comment. Anyone who wishes to address the council on any non-agenda or agenda item, please come forward. I only have one person signed up. That's Kurt Ladderfield.
Want me to speak now?
Okay.
Kurt Landefeld, 3993 Lakewood Avenue. Mayor and members of council, on May 27th, I spoke here in opposition to proposed ordinance 3064, and at that time I gave you two reasons why that ordinance was ill-conceived and misrepresented to the public and should be rejected. First, it effectively proposed to neuter the mayor's office, and second, it proposed major changes in how we govern ourselves without one second or sentence of public input or debate. Nonetheless, a majority tried to push it through. It failed because the majority could not garner a fourth vote to overturn the mayor's veto. And now you're back at it again. And again, I ask why. The simple answer is that you think you've got a fourth vote. And your attorney has told you that if this gets to the ballot, its chances of passing are good because most of the public won't know what they're voting for. I think this is a pretty shoddy way to do the public's business. You're going to present it as a long overdue need to update a century-old charter. But what's proposed isn't simply an updating. It's not just a cleanup of outdated language. When I asked last week, Mr. Rudacille offered a guess that this ordinance would move at least half of the mayor's responsibilities to council. That is radical change. And maybe that's what the people want. But how would we know? Yes, you can talk about all the meetings and workshops you've had in these chambers, but where were the community meetings, the invitations to the public to engage and discuss, the media reporting, the opportunities for this majority to explain precisely what's so wrong with what we have today that Bradenton's future is threatened? I said at the May meeting, and I'll say again today, I agree that the charter needs updating, but not this way. Not in this thinly veiled effort to discredit the police department and its chief. Not in this grab for power. At the May meeting, I was accompanied by a half dozen residents from my River Isles community. Many more would have come, but were wary of the virus. All were opposed to what you tried to do then. They are not alone. If you think you have the votes to push this through, then we will do our best to prove you wrong. We will tell the rest of the city that what happened here was not done with the consent of the governed, and they, after rejecting this masquerade, will turn to leaders who will. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address the council? Anyone who wishes to speak to council? Anyone else? Hearing none? Move on. Ms. Bochamp?
Yes, at this time, I'll add that we didn't receive any comments via voicemail or via email as citizen comments for this meeting. Next, we have a request to approve the consent agenda, items A through F.
I'd like to pull off the A for discussion.
Move to approve consent agenda items B through F.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve items B through F. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Consent agenda B through F is approved. The vote is 5-0. Ms. Sanders?
I'd like for Mr. Callahan to address this item A. The council approved this this item some time ago. I just want to make sure that everything that we approved was in this, and nothing. It's a pretty heavy document to read. I had 800 pages of other stuff to read just last night. So this is a 60-page document that I'm not going to spend hours on. But I just want to make sure everything was as presented to us in a meeting before.
Everything is as presented, with a couple little cleanup languages between the chief and the union, which don't adversely have any financial impact. It was just some language, old language, that reflected hours and maybe instead of days from a time standpoint in a couple articles. Nothing that we didn't discuss. It was just ironing out some minor differences. The one thing that we did discuss at our last meeting with them is I said that in the third year I was a little less certain as to where the revenues were the third year. They agreed to do just an increase in their step plan rather than the 1%, with the understanding that we would address that prior to budget, that if things weren't as bad as we thought, we would still try to get them that 1% additional in the third year. They agreed with that, and that was the most significant change. So yes, it is as we discussed in the meetings.
Thank you. And I just want to tell the public that this council approved raises for our rank and file police officers. So we're very supportive of our police officers, Mr. Landenthal. We're not opposed to it. We're opposed to bad policing policies by a very few. So that's why this charter is up for a vote this fall. So, and we did that in a time of crisis. We've got a virus that's headed our direction, is going to reduce our revenues probably as much as $5 million. We don't know exactly yet. We don't know if we'll be refunded for some of this stuff. It's unlikely, probably, that we will. So this is a time that it's been very easy for us to say no raises. But we felt very good about giving raises to the police force in this time because they have suffered just like everybody else has, and they've done a good job. So don't ever accuse me of not supporting our police department. Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve item A on the consent agenda. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Item A, consent agenda is approved. The vote's 5-0. Ms. Bochamp?
Next, under business advertising, petitions, hearings, and communications, we have the second reading and public hearing of Ordinance 3066. An ordinance of the City of Bradenton proposing an amendment to the Bradenton City Charter, proposing a charter amendment revising the powers of the office of mayor, calling for a referendum on the proposed amendment to the charter to be held at the general election on November 3rd, 2020, providing the ballot title and ballot summary for the referendum, providing for direction to the city clerk and coordination with the Manatee County Supervisor of Elections, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date. And again, this is a public hearing, and we'll be asking for a vote on this today.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
No, public hearing.
Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr. Latterfield already spoke.
Ms. Beauchamp, a question. I thought that one of the reasons why this came back up was that Councilman Byrd changed the effective date Should that not be in the?
That was not part of the heading, I don't believe, Scott.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Yes, if ratified, the changes would become effective January 5th. That was the one change that was made to the actual text of the ordinance. Otherwise, it's the same as it was previously.
So that doesn't need to be included in what we just read here in the ordinance?
It's not in the title block. No.
Okay, all right.
Councilman Roff, this is a new ordinance. We didn't bring the previous ordinance forward.
This is a new number?
This is a new number, it's a new ordinance,
Okay.
completely new document.
This is Harold's baby, so I'm just going along.
Okay. Open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance, please come forward. Anyone in favor? Anyone in favor? Anyone else in opposition to this ordinance? Any in opposition? Any opposition? Hearing none? Close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 3066.
Second, with a comment?
Go ahead.
I am definitely supporting this because the way we came about this over the course of the last 6 months of many public hearings was at one point, I think it was Councilman Byrd that described hearing all the discussion of what people wanted changed, came up with an item of 3 things that need to be corrected. One was, oversight of PD, but the other 2 was who is an officer and the power of committees. And the reason why those 2 changes need to take place is it's been my observation over the last 2 mayors over a course of 40 years that those 2 words in the document left open a vague interpretation of what power belongs to who. And in my opinion, those 2 words have allowed for the mayor to, previous mayor and this mayor, to use those words as a way of trying to control council. And when you look at the intent and purpose of the charter, the original charter, in no way did it put the mayor over council people. So those 2 interpretations, is my witness that it's been used improperly. And since it's been done improperly over 40 years, it can happen again. And my goal right now is to make corrections to the charter right now to get it down the road to where someone can do what I proposed all the way along was to have a citizens charter review committee. I brought in a name, I brought in figures, I brought in everything of what I wanted to have done originally that no one else wanted to follow, until it was too late. But basically, my goal is to have this to where someone can take my seat and not have to literally feel like I've been jerked around. So that's why I'm supporting this, is PD is just one item. The other 2 are far more important to me. I don't want my replacement person down the road to have to go through what I went through.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Callahan.
this is a point of clarifications, and maybe you said it, Mr. Roff, but I didn't hear. You kept saying 2 words.
Yeah. It was who is an officer and power of committees.
I'm sorry, the second.
Who is an officer and the power of committees.
Power of committee.
Committee. And to be specific, Gene, power of committee was interpreted to boards and committees, and we're talking about, things like the League of Cities, the Estuary, the Regional Planning Council, and most importantly, the MPO. And my point is, when this charter was written in 1903, none of those things existed. None of them existed. So there's no way that anyone could have imagined there were going to be council seats for, these positions that were going to be filled by council that the mayor would interpret that he's now in charge of appointing who's on those committees. Remember how we used to have the liaison sheets? We've argued that they were null and void, and we got rid of them, but it still leaves that committee word.
Okay. I'm not going to support this as I didn't support it the first time. I did support 2 out of the 3 because I believe that those were non-political changes. Those are changes that need to be made. But I still feel in my heart, based on observation of the last 6-7 months, on how the mayor has been harpooned every time he turns around. And I believe that change is political. I believe that it doesn't need to be changed. There's nothing in there, to me, that affects how this city is run. And as I've stated before, and will state again, hopefully not boring anybody, I think that there's a particular issue that is very important that it stays the way it does, based on the fact that I assume the present council wants the police chief to report everything that goes on to them. I think that is very, very bad. There's no reason to do that, because we should not be getting involved in the police department's activity, specifically investigations of a nature that could in fact be one of us that's being investigated. And because we're human beings, if the police chief was to come into everybody's office and say, we're investigating A, B, C, and D, there's no question in my mind, before we leave this building, that information will be out and the public will know about it. I believe keeping that intact in-house between the mayor and the police chief, it's going to be kept pretty quiet. Because if in fact it does get out, first thing we know is the police chief is not going to be telling anybody. So the mayor will be the one that everybody points a finger at. If you change it, then you're looking at, okay, which one of you councilmen ran your mouth or went down the street, had a drink, or maybe 2 drinks, and started bragging about what's going on. So, and it's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying I'm right, but I truly feel that way. I stated before that I'm all for changing particular items in this charter. Yes, it's old. Does it need to be changed? Yes. But I also have stated that I will not support anything that becomes personal in nature, and this has become very personal. There's no question in my mind, so I will be voting no again, but knowing that the setup of the council now would be a waste of time for the mayor to veto it, because it's a done deal. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
I just wanted to clarify one item. The ordinance that is before you does not modify the mayor's power to appoint committees. That language was not part of the revisions, either in the initial ordinance or in this one, so I just wanted to make sure the council understood that.
Scott, I was told, I'm sorry to jump in, because we had this conversation with the third-party lawyer, that, because we brought this up, and he said that his recommendation was to lump it all into this one question. So that did not get transferred into this?
It did not. No, that has never been incorporated in this
I remember him
language.
specifically stating that he didn't want to go through those items, and he wanted to put it all into this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again, the process has not been, what I would have liked to have been.
I don't think that it's as you described, I don't think that power is one that is necessarily still there. But the appointment of committees, as per se of the city, the insurance committee, the various committees that you see, that appointment, that power is still there. The liaisons, the appointment.
What about boards?
I think the boards obviously still need to come back to you, because that's where most of those boards' powers list, as a recommendation can come forward, and you guys still have to appoint the board members.
Okay.
So I think that was the clarification, is the board member certainly, it's not that power, but is certainly the committees, the internal committees, those maybe external committees, the blue ribbon committees, or whatever else could come from the mayor still.
I'm not concerned with that, Carl.
Okay.
You're
I know, I'm just
you're
saying
well aware. What I'm
that's-
concerned about is
That's the language
that
that's
the
here.
mayors have interpreted that they have power to control the council in some way or form, and that's my intention, that this will stop. This will stop, well, with the voters' approval.
Scott and I were just making sure that everybody's aware that the language that's in number 2 was that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a couple of brief comments. This is going on for a while, and initially it came before us as one ordinance. And looking at what some say is, I guess, political or personal instances in one of those issues as far as the powers of the mayor, it was something that we really were in favor of separating them out. And 2 of those were unanimous. And be mindful that what this is, these are ballot questions. They're ordinances at this point, but the people will have to just decide how they would like to proceed. And I think that it's up to the people to really decide that. The other point that I really wanted to make on the issue is that, I've heard statements even today talking about the personal nature of things. This particular ordinance, the effective date of this is not until the next year. The other ordinance was pretty much exactly the same as this. And I cleared that at the first reading, and the only difference is the effective date. At that point, I don't see how it could be something that's personally directed at the sitting mayor at this point, because by the time the effective date, if the citizens decide, they would not even be in office. So, my point has always been, let's put the ballot question to the citizens to decide, and we're ready to go forward with this. And I guess one last thing is that to think that all of a sudden one person is going to go a certain way, I just have a issue with that. I would not respect anyone that would come to this board without some type of independent voice to say, either I'm going one way or another. And so, I just wanted to clarify some of those things. A lot of us up here, we want to do what's good for Bradenton, whether those opinions are what you believe or you disagree with. But I just wanted to make some of those points. As far as the issues on, why this, we've gone over it for the last year, and I won't get into any of that. But at this point, I'm ready to move forward.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilwoman Barnebey?
If Mr. Sanders wants to.
No, go ahead.
That's-
Go ahead.
Thank you. I have seen meetings and watched activities occur in our city meetings that, quite frankly, at the time as a private citizen, I found, well, maybe if I say as a mom, I found frustrating and I felt not appropriate. Several years ago, my husband, through some of his professional activities, put together a pledge of public conduct and went around the state, and just about every local government adopted that pledge of public conduct. And we have it in our agenda. So if you wonder what it is, if you get an agenda, you can read it. That being said, the previous time that I sat here, I worked very hard to listen to what the citizens of Bradenton wanted their community to become. We need to listen to the citizens. They may vote this up, they may vote it down. Quite frankly, I haven't had anybody talk to me about this ordinance. They've talked about the behavior that occurred during the several meetings. So I don't know how the citizens feel about this, if they will vote for it or if they will vote against it. But I've always been the person that tried to listen to the citizens, and I'm not going to say that they can't vote on this. Thank you.
Mr. Henderson.
Thank you. I agree with you, Mrs. Barnebey. This is not about what the council wants. This is what the public has asked for, and we're giving them the opportunity to vote on it in November. It's not a power grab. It's not that at all. And all the departments in this city are report to our council. And since I've been here, I haven't dictated anything to any department head. I see the fire chief out there that I've rarely talked to him in 2 years. There's just really no need. He operates his department independently, does a fine job, and I think the police department will do the same. So for us to say we're going to get involved in investigations, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's the police chief and their officers and detectives to do that. That's not going to happen. That's it. To make that statement is clearly false. That's not the intent behind it. But we've had citizens that wants us to do something for oversight. And that's what this is about. And so it's back to the citizens. If you want it, it's on the ballot. If you don't want it, it's on the ballot. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Gallagher.
just for a point of clarification. Ms. Barnebey, I totally agree with you that the public needs to have their input. That's who we work for. My problem is that, and quite obviously you have not been here, is I've watched for the last months and months and months the mayor being attacked verbally, very personal. And he was at that time going to run for office in November. So the timing to stir the pot was now. My point is, if we want to make changes in a charter that we've had for 100+ years, why rush? And let's do it all at one time. Let's don't select one particular item that we know where the bullet's going and deal with that. And that's the problem I have. If we even change that when we do the overall charter, I have no problem with it. But it's the system, the way it's working now. I know you're a good lady, and I respect you, and I hope vice versa. But I truly believe this is the wrong way to do it. And I keep hearing that the public wants this. I have not been asked by the first person to change the charter. I have had comments to me what is a charter? What does, and you have to sit and explain it to them. They say, oh, I didn't know you had a charter. You've been here long enough to know that how much the people in the city get involved. When we pass $100+ million budget every year, the only people sitting in the audience is the reporter back there. Nobody cares. And the only time you see somebody come to this council meeting, if it's affecting them personally. You know, if something's being changed in their neighborhood or being built in their neighborhood, they get upset, rightfully so, and here they come. So, first of all, I think the city's gotten big enough that it's time for us to consider a city manager form of government, which would resolve all this crap. But I do think that we should take our time. If we have to spend $25,000 to get somebody in here to completely redo the charter, let's do it. Let's don't rush in. A year ago, I was like, why do that? But now I understand, and I've spent more time looking at the charter. Yes, there are things that need to be changed. But let's don't pick and choose and then pick something that fits in the scenario that affects something that's going on now. And that's my problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, just,
Ms. Barnebey?
I feel like a substitute in a poker game, and I didn't get to pick the cards. I've got the cards dealt to me, Mr. Gallo. Thank you.
Mr. Roff?
Yeah, I need to say that there's a correction and probably a clarification. First off, it'd been stated that the police department may possibly be investigating council people, you know, unless any of us commit a crime, as in, you know, going off and knocking off a 7-Eleven or something like that. The power to police us belongs to the state through boards and committees, and then it also it's directly, our supervisor is the governor. That's who my boss is, the governor of the state. So this is not it's not an honest statement that the police department would be investigating us unless we were to commit a crime, a legal, you know, something not associated with our duties as a council people. Second thing, this has been brought up now a couple of times about the rush of this. This has gone on for a year. You know, a year ago, we had citizens show up here wanting a citizens oversight committee, and they were told no. One of them was arrested for speaking more than 3 minutes. This has been a year in the making. We've been debating this for 6 months in open debate and much conversation, and brought in a second legal team to get through this. So there's been no rush to this at all. This is one of the longest ordeals I've ever been in. I guess Where's Creek would win it. You know, and I want to remind everyone that there was a charter change done 2 election cycles ago at the mayor's request to change the odd year to the even year and to put it out to the voters to eliminate the runoff, which that was done just in time for an election to back it up a year. And that went through in, I think, 3 meetings. It might have been 2, but no more than 3 meetings. It came up, it was voted on, no public input, no, I mean, we went through the public hearing, but it just showed up out of the blue, bing, bang, boom, done, going to the voters. So, you know, that's just, that was done. That's a fact. That's in the minutes, that's in the records, that's in our documents. So I just wanted to correct those 2 things.
You have a comment?
Mr. Mayor,
Yella?
just so I can respond to my good friend Pat. The last item you're talking about, the quickness of the passing of the change for road, that had to be done in a hurry because it was going to be affected right then and there to affect, otherwise it would have to wait 2 years. That's not the same thing with working on the charter. The other thing, if I haven't forgot it already, which I probably did, that you said, oh, Lord have mercy. I get too wrapped up in this stuff. You know, I have to apologize. That was the main issue, one that I was concerned with. Thank you.
Just so the public knows, that gave everybody an extra year in office.
That's correct. Everybody on the city council.
Everybody.
The
Yes.
city council.
And everybody was tickled to death about
I
it.
bet they were.
And the voter turnout in that next election doubled.
Well, it's presidential year, wasn't it?
Well, that's why
Yeah, well,
we changed it.
Yeah, it's presidential year, of course it was.
That's why we wanted to get it there, because people would go and vote then. We had an off-year election that cost us a whole lot of money to do, and we got more voter turnout. That's why the council voted for it.
We got an extra year in office.
And the two people that spoke against it were both planning on running for mayor.
Excuse, could you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
And the two people that came to public comment and voted against it were Bill
Oh.
Evers, Bill Evers and Richard O'Brien,
Yeah.
specifically.
No motive there.
Any other comments? So I think we need a motion here.
It's already been made, a motion.
Who
Yeah,
made the
motion.
motion?
I made the
I
motion.
seconded
Any second?
It's been seconded and we went in discussion.
No more comments, let's vote. Ward 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
No.
2.
Yes.
Ordinance 3066 passes, vote is 4-1. Ms. Bochamp?
Next, under new business, Attorney Rudacille will bring forward the special magistrate recommendation regarding Promenade Associates LP. This is the Kawa Coffee discussion.
All right, so I'm going to briefly, maybe more so for the benefit of the public who's here, kind of go through and walk us back through where we've been, and then talk a little bit about the decision before the council today. So this was an item that came before the council back in October as a major amendment to the PDP for the Northwest Promenade property. What was proposed was a Kawa Coffee drive-through on the northwest corner of that facility. And that application was denied by the city council in a unanimous vote. Following that decision, the property owner filed a petition pursuant to the Florida Land Use and Environmental Dispute Resolution Act, FLUEDRA, which essentially initiates it's a two-part process. It's part mediation, part hearing before a magistrate. So it starts with a mediation where the magistrate tries to foster a resolution between the parties. If that doesn't happen, it then proceeds to a hearing where the magistrate ultimately makes a recommendation to bring back to the governing body. So that is what occurred in this case. We were unable to reach a resolution during the mediation portion. Public hearing was held, and ultimately the magistrate issued a recommendation finding that the city's denial was unreasonable and unfairly burdensome to the property owner's use of the property. The magistrate recommended that the council approve the application subject to the four conditions that were included in the recommendation. Now, so that's the matter that's before the council. I want to make sure that everyone understands that this matter has not been litigated at this point. This was simply a process where the city has a non-binding recommendation from a magistrate who was selected to hear this matter. It is not binding on the city council. It is the standard of review for that. The magistrate's decision is totally different than what the standard would be if the property owner were to file suit and challenge that action. So it's a completely independent process. that just results in a recommendation. So that is what is before you. The council has three options here. The council can accept the magistrate's recommendation with the 4 conditions, and if that occurs, the council elects to do that, then we will schedule a public hearing to bring the item back in order to formally adopt that approval. If the council can reject the recommendation of the magistrate outright, and if that occurs, then staff will prepare a written decision and bring that back for the approval of the council. There won't be a public hearing scheduled per se. And then the third option of the council is to modify the recommendation of the magistrate. And so you will find in your packet a modified recommendation for the council to consider. It is essentially, it incorporates the magistrate's recommended conditions as well as a number of additional conditions that were recommended by staff. So that is the third option that's before the council. I've prepared alternative motions which are in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I believe staff is available to answer questions as well.
Do you have any questions, Scott?
Mr. Mayor. Since this is in my ward, and I have a special interest in it, my first question, Scott, what is the background of the magistrate?
Magistrate is he's a land use attorney out of the Venice area.
So kind of a favorable person towards real estate and stuff like that, I would assume.
Well, I would say that he's probably done more work on the private side than the public side, but I don't know all of his background.
Okay, thank you. That answers a lot for me. This is a document which I've read twice. Once I fell asleep during the middle of it, but then I managed to go back and finish it up. Doesn't do a lot for the concerns that our staff had, and the biggest concern that I have. The issues in the alley have been changed somewhat that runs behind. I'm not sure it's a controllable situation, that there still will not be some problems, but the biggest problem that I see, and the reason why my opinion is going to be a no, is the safety factor of the traffic. It has not corrected the issue that traffic coming to that particular business is going to be coming from 3 directions. Manatee Avenue and 2 different directions in that parking lot. And that is going to cause havoc. Now, the biggest time of their business is going to be in the wintertime when there's a lot of people here. And guess what, folks? Manatee Avenue is like being in New York City in the wintertime with the traffic. And what we're going to do is we're just inviting problems. And I do not want to support something that I feel will happen and that my vote caused it, in a way of somebody getting hurt with an accident on Manatee Avenue. They can't control the traffic inside the parking lot. They can't control whether the delivery guy will get in that alley or not when he comes in. So unless they're going to have somebody out there 24 hours a day with a big stick and a whistle, it's not going to happen. So I think personally, when the time comes after everybody has spoken, I'm prepared to make the proper motion to deny what the magistrate has offered and to stay where we were at. Thank you.
Councilwoman Barnebey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Rudacille, is there a representative from the owners here today?
It's tough to tell with the masks on, but it doesn't appear so.
Well, I would think if a council member says, is there a representative of the owner of the property here, they would probably stand up, and no one is doing that apparently. A couple of things. We've got the magistrate's recommendation, and let me just say one thing. My husband serves as a magistrate many times in other counties. He doesn't do it here, but he's done it in Sarasota, Fort Myers, across the state. And he has both public and private experience. I don't know about this Mr. Boone, that's the magistrate in this issue, but just wanted to share that with you, that you know somebody that has done this.
I know several.
Good. Trying to look at the recommendations prepared by the staff for the modification to the magistrate's recommendation. When it says the applicant shall ensure vehicles attempting to access the site do not back up onto Manatee Avenue, I want to know how you're going to do that. How do you do that? I mean, literally, do you have somebody standing there with a stick and like Mr. Gallo suggested? I would be interested in the owners of the property telling us, you know, that they're going to work this situation out, because I've gone to that shopping center many times. There was actually one weekend during Christmas time that I was a mom with 2 little children at home, and I thought that my husband should have the opportunity of spending quality time with them with me not there. And I went to Mr. Keston's menswear and wrapped Christmas presents for the customers just to get out of being at the house with the kids during Christmas. So I'm familiar with the area. I'm familiar with the back end of the property or behind the property there. So again, I want to know from the applicant if they believe that they have the experience to operate these shopping centers in this manner. I'd like them to share with us how they would do that, because I'm not sure how they would. And then there's also information in the magistrate's recommendation where it talks about that testimony and evidence at the hearing revealed that except for the fresh market located at the opposite end of the shopping center from the proposed drive-through, all other tenants in the shopping center are closed during their peak hours. That's not accurate.
Right.
There is an exercise studio that's there, and if you check their website, they have classes that begin, and I don't know if they're open now during the pandemic, but they have 6 o'clock classes that begin at 6 a.m., go from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. They do it on the weekends where they have earlier classes. So I'm kind of surprised that the property owners did not make sure that the facts were presented. Again, with the area that's back there, and you also have, if I'm not mistaken, 2 restaurants. You have the ramen noodle place, and you have 3 restaurants, because you have Five Guys, you have the noodle place, and you have
Popes or Popies or whatever.
Papos.
Papos. Which is a busy restaurant.
Well, and if your restaurant opens at 11 a.m., your chef doesn't walk in the door at 10:55. They're there early in the morning getting everything set up as well. So there is going to be traffic back there regardless. Again, this is reminding me of trying to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack.
Mr. Callahan?
Mr. Mayor, just from a standpoint of clarification from staff's point of view, I think staff had indicated very clearly during the initial meeting and even subsequent meetings that they were not thinking that this was a good idea. I think they were charged with, once they saw the magistrate's opinion, to come up with some alternatives that if you were inclined to go that way, that certainly could work. Maybe could try to work, but they weren't necessarily saying, well, these will work. We all know that when you say you won't block a drive aisle, there's only one person that can make you not block a drive aisle, and that's going to be the owner. So it's very difficult to do some of these things, but they were charged with trying to come up with some alternative ways of looking at, instead of just flat out accepting what he said, how do we incorporate some of their views with some of what the magistrate indicated. But I think it was clear, and even stated in here somewhere, that although they're doing this, they still believe that it is not the right thing to do. And that's coming from, I think, planning, fire, public works, virtually all the folks that were included in this to begin with.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, as an example of how quasi-judicial decision-making works, having talked to staff and our city attorney, I was disappointed at the magistrate's decision, but I thought, well, I guess maybe we should, follow the order and not, get the city involved in legal issues. It's my observation that the applicant is not going to back down on this. So, but then again, until today, I had no way of knowing what other council people said because of sunshine. And my first comment to staff and the city attorney was, well, I think this is still a bad idea, but how do we protect ourselves from litigation, from anything that happens out of this? And I was told probably can't. So I didn't like that, but I was still, trying to do the right thing by the city. But I do believe that, we as council are supposed to be an expert in one thing, our wards. I know my ward. I know every inch of my ward, and I know that Mr. Gallo probably knows his ward better than any of us. So to hear him say today that he didn't want to move forward on this changes my outlook on this completely. I was ready to make concessions on this and see what can come of it, but I'm going to follow Mr. Gallo's opinion on this. I still think it's. I think it's just got problems written all over it. I'm not anxious for the city to get involved in a legal battle, which I'm sure we will. But I'm going to change my outlook on this that I already formed from staff and the city attorney, and I'm going to go with you on this. That I think it's got safety issues all written all over it.
That's right.
No, you.
Go ahead. I guess my main concern, I read all the information, and I was kind of, when I read what the magistrate said, I definitely am not in a position to say, hey, that's a direction to go in. I did look at the 10 different stipulations by staff, and in looking at those stipulations, it was, public safety, all over, pedestrian safety, and, and one thing I've learned is that if you got some public safety issues that are involved, you're on pretty good grounds as far as anything you're looking at. So I think public safety, if there's some issues there, I won't be around in case this comes back around before you as a council. But in my opinion, I think it's something that I'll agree with Mr. Gallo in saying that I don't think we should, accept the decision, that's before us right now. And public safety, we have to look at public safety. That's what we're about. Thank you.
Anders?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that shopping center, and I went out yesterday and drove it like 3 times around behind it. My concern was people being able to go into this new proposed business and then get back out. It's a long way around the back, but that is the way out. And most people that go with Five Guys or that those restaurants are physical center there, don't enter from that entrance. One reason, it's on down, there's two other entrances into that mall, which comes off of another side street that most people use. You just don't see, I'm one of them that uses that entrance, but I don't like it because there's speed bumps there right in front of that storage facility. So that alone could probably back up traffic. So I do have the same situation with concerns of traffic. But you know, we did the Dunkin' Donuts on my side of town, and there was not as bad, but there were similar issues there, and I was opposed to it. So sorry, you didn't. You know, that's my ward, and I was opposed to that Dunkin' Donuts, but it's going in, so I'm pro-business, and I could go either way on this. I don't think that is as big an issue as what I originally thought because I drove it yesterday. Now, I would like to maybe hear from the fire chief, that'd be or a police chief in their, if it's public safety, I think they need to have a voice in this. I'd like to hear from them if they approach the podium and give their concerns.
Fire marshal was the one who was involved in that bill.
Okay.
Yeah, it really would be the fire marshal on that, but again, we've got, some of our concern was the fire department connections in the back of that place, which can be easily gotten to. Traffic really won't affect us. It's mainly the, public safety out front and the stacking of traffic.
One of the recommendations that the magistrate made was to close that entrance between the storage unit place and there's a lot of traffic that goes through there. And it comes right through there, and now you're bringing cars into that same area off of Manatee Avenue. It's a nightmare situation, and we still believe that it's going to cause an accident. It's going to cause backups on Manatee
Back up
Avenue.
out on Manatee.
So
Have we done a traffic study there?
we haven't done a traffic study because it's private property.
No, I mean on Manatee Avenue, the people using that entrance.
No.
You have it?
Have we done a traffic study back there, do you know? No, that's all private property there.
And most people make an early turn and they go through that storage center when they're supposed to go down one more, but they just make that, and so that's why magistrate recommended close that off. But then again, you got somebody in there and they gotta figure out how to turn around and go back out on Manatee Avenue and make the next hit.
So there's a lot of concerns in there. So we still recommend that denial.
Thank you.
We don't have any recommendations, Mr. Lee.
Mr. Sanders?
Yeah.
I just want to just say something that because I live out there, and I hit Manatee Avenue a lot early in the morning, it is unbelievable
Well, I
the
know.
amount of traffic coming from the west going east. And I always say to myself, where are these people? You know, it's 7:30 in the morning. Where are these people coming from and where are they going that direction? So it will be a nightmare, especially in the winter. In the summertime, yeah, it may not be a drastic thing, but when the folks from up north hit this community, it will be a nightmare.
I understand. I don't disagree with anything anybody said. I just, you know, like I said, I hate for government to restrict business because we got a lot of traffic problems, especially in the wintertime. You can't get to the beach. The traffic right at that location almost backs up to that 67th Street, just going to Anne Marie Island. So, you know, I don't think it's our place to solve that, but I'll vote. I mean, I respect your opinion for that's your ward, but I also respect that live in a free country, and I like to take care of business people.
So Scott, you had some recommended motions, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I'd like to take the recommended motion that he had that will specifically say no.
Okay.
Just to clarify for the record, that would be a motion to reject the recommendation of the special magistrate and direct staff to prepare a written decision with description of allowable uses for the council's consideration.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 4,
No.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Motion passes, votes 4-1. Callahan?
Yes, the next item is, we had through CDBG and through the planning department last summer, Habitat for Humanity had asked to waive a CDBG lien that had been placed on a piece of property, not a piece of property we owned, but a piece of property that had a house demoed on it. We used CDBG funds to demo that property. Property was subsequently bought at a tax sale by the Habitat for Humanity, and when they did that, we received a partial payoff on that lien of $2,608, leaving a remaining balance of approximately $10,000. They then came back and ultimately built 2 houses on that lot, and are now requesting that because that would impede or would impair them into the future, would we waive the remaining lien balance so that that would not carry forward into the future. Couple things to note: that waiving or removing a lien from CDBG is not something that we are allowed to do. That it is not a problem for the CDBG program, and generally or historically we have not removed liens, because sometimes what we get into is you remove a lien and people come in and build something and immediately make a lot of money on it. And that's not our intent, is to remove liens so that people are in a better financial position. In this instance, asking to remove the remaining lien on a house that will probably stay there for quite some time, and the ownership group is different in that this is Habitat for Humanity making that request, who we've worked quite closely with. So the staff recommendation at this point would be that we would allow that lien to be removed and not encumber that property into the long-term future of those 2 parcels.
Mr. Mayor,
Byrd?
I'd just like to make a comment. The first thing is that I want us to handle this in a way where we're not setting any type of precedent whereby, as you say, someone can come in and ask for the same thing, a developer at some other time, and say, well, you did it for one. So the sheer fact that Habitat, they're in their main, I guess, mission is providing affordable homes within our community, and we've worked with them. So, you know, in some way, I hope it's we can have it stated within the discussion, you know, clearly saying that this is something that's not setting a precedent for developers that may try to make a profit in the future.
I think that's what Mr.
Yeah, I just
Because of the ownership, that we would not be doing
I
that.
just wanted to make a statement.
Mr. Callahan, what's the locations again and the dollar amount of the lien?
The location is, what is the address? 2207 11th Street West, and the original amount of the lien was $12,951.44. We received a payoff, partial payoff, when they bought the tax deed. It was bought at tax sale, was $2,608.58. So the remaining balance is $10,342. So
I'd support Mr. Byrd's recommendation that this is done because of the nature of who it is that builds affordable housing for people, and it's not a trend that we're setting here to waive liens for development. So with that said, I would support it.
Chair will entertain a motion.
One,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I had a question, Carl. 2207 11th Street West, that's the area just south of the village?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Getting down to the far reaches of town.
Not premium real estate?
No, that's the problem, when we find out, really, we need to figure out a better way to address these demo liens.
Yeah.
Because when you put a demo lien, a $10,000 to demolish a house on a $10,000 piece of property, you have now pretty much made it not a candidate for affordable housing.
Right.
That's where it gets bad. So we want to look at another process through the Affordable Housing Committee, is maybe how to handle those situations when they come up.
So my point is that, following Mr. Byrd's suggestion, that because this is a non-for-profit, building a new residence, 2 new residences in an area that is 100% slummed and blighted, that, this is community development. So, I think that, I hope it isn't perceived as a precedent, because it's not. There are other neighborhoods where someone could come in and buy a home for, a demolished property and have expectations that they could build a nice house and do better real estate-wise. This is an area that's this is gonna be one of our toughest fixes in the whole city, is that whole area south of the village, in my opinion, in Ward 3.
I'll second that motion.
Look, I want to clarify it. I think I can probably get away, hopefully the city attorney will give me the right direction here. Approve the removal of the remainder of a demo lien requested by Habitat for Humanity, located on the property located 2207 11th Street West. That way it's all there.
I think that's fine.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. You've heard it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 5?
Yes.
1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
Motion passes. The vote's 5-0.
Thank you all.
Ms. Bochamp, any unfinished business?
No, sir.
Keenan got here late, but he would like to speak, and so since he's going to speak on the same subject, we'll call it unfinished business. Keenan, you have 3 minutes. Name and address for the record.
1915 11th Avenue East, Bradenton, Ward 5. All right, been here a lot here. Welcome, Mrs. Barnebey.
Thank you.
There's a lot of stuff going on here. But one thing is going on that you might not be aware of is 19th Street Court East in Ward 5. Still the Wild Wild West. I think I got into it with another guy the other day. They're starting to park even further down, coming from Avondale / Vista. I don't know how many owners have come in there and, kind of made the money. Got an argument with the guy again. Don't see 19th Street Court East on the agenda. Need an update from the Bradenton Housing Authority. Are they on the hook? Are they off the hook? Seems like to me they're off the hook. Anyone, I know not last meeting, meeting before that, I was challenged council to take a field trip to Bradenton Village and look at that parking there and see how we can maybe implement that type of style parking to over there and SUG projects. Had a little meeting with the community the other day. We're starting to come together on this, so I don't want it to get big and start to affect council as people are angry and mad at what's going on. So want to be proactive instead of reactive with that. Homeowners over there, we matter too. And I don't think we're getting a fair shake over there with parking. Looked at that golf village that's going up on 27th Street East there. There's 2 sides to it. A lot of people feel like that golf village will make 27th Street a nightmare. Then the people on the other end, they're on 11th Avenue East, they feel like they don't want traffic flowing into that. So it's civil war over there, and we're kind of in the middle of it. But 19th Street Court East, we want to know what does the fire, what do they think about that? Because I think about a few weeks ago, we had a murder over there, and I was standing out there, and fire and safety, it was impossible to get in there. We had a fatality on the ground there, and it was kind of impossible to get over there because of parking. So we want to know what they think, and maybe we can come together on some issues here. But I encourage you all to go to Bradenton Village again, if you've even gone. I don't know if you've gone or not, to see that parking over there. That might be something that we can implement in SUG projects, but Bradenton Housing Authority is not off the hook here. All right? So I can keep preaching and preaching, but if you read about someone fighting in the paper, it might be me or somebody else trying to protect our property.
Mr. Keenan, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Geller?
Keenan, I just want to let you know that I did go over there, and what I found out that I had to drive in the middle of the road because the parking over there is absolutely unbelievable. But I don't have an answer. That's my problem. I don't know whether we have to build a parking garage over there or they have to build a parking garage over there. But there are just absolutely too many cars on the city streets, and it is not safe. I mean, kids can come out from behind one of those cars, and if people are driving too fast, it's a bad situation. But just wanted to let you know that I did go over there and ride the area.
All right, we know.
In Keenan, there are a lot of children there, particularly in schools.
Yeah, well, we know
going
this
in or
is
coming out.
Yeah, we know a little history here. Ward 5 is the most bused neighborhood in this area, and they bust them because the minority students, they need a number and all that, so they pick from. A bus might pick from this neighborhood. A bus goes to that neighborhood. Bus goes to that. I hate that, by the way. I think this school district should. I like the neighborhood schools better, but I don't know. That's a whole nother fight for me to fight later on in life. But buses, semis, everything coming through there every morning. And when school starts, just come there in the morning. There's buses everywhere. Everybody's parking everywhere. Everybody's just trying to survive. So thanks for going, but it's a problem that we're dealing with. So thank you.
Callahan?
Mr. Mayor, I know that, as promised, we did send it to the Traffic Safety Committee to look at. I think they found it just as difficult as Mr. Wooten does. I don't think they came up with a great solution. They were trying. They were, Jim, I think you were there, and I think some alternatives have been presented, but I don't think any of them are the perfect answer. But I think that's kind of where it ran into issues at the traffic safety is because it is a problem, and finding the answer that works for everyone was going to be difficult.
Well, one of the things that we're looking at, and just so Mr. Wooten knows, we are in fact looking at it, is the idea of trying to provide on-street parking that's recessed away from the roadway. I don't know that that's going to solve all the problem if we're able to pull that off. We're looking at the right-of-way that's available to be able to do this, what would be required to do it. And so that's in the process of being looked at. One other alternative that we did postulate was at the southeast corner, there's a large area, but it's treed, and I think it was provided as part of the development as an area, but it would be possible potentially for there to be a parking lot of some sort built there. That's something we would need to coordinate with the Bradenton Housing Authority as it relates to that.
Mr. Mayor, let me make a couple of comments. I had Bradenton Housing Authority. I was going to discuss some things under my council business, but one of the things is that they have the parking for some of the residents there, and what happens is you have a lot of those residents because they might not have the permit to park there. It's a towing issue, and they will park instead of there because it's not permitted. They will park on the street. And I think, and that was going to be part of my discussion is that we talked about trying to, have the housing authority, the administration come, before us at a meeting, and in some of the discussions, that's what it's going to take. Bradenton Village was something through Hope 6. It was something that was done. It was developed with Corporation City, federal dollars, and the Housing Authority, and they've changed their name now, but the development company out of D.C. Telesis, right? And years ago, and so there was a plan, and that could be looked at there. But I was going to get into some of the other issues as far as the housing authority under my business. But yeah, it's clearly the only way that's going to be solved is going to be a cooperation between the city and the housing authority. That's the only way I see it, because I kind of see what's happening there. And that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, it somewhat comes back to, our land development code and telling, for whatever size development, you're allotting so many parking spaces. But that doesn't restrict somebody who moves into a place from having 3 vehicles instead of 1. And that's just the nature of the beast everywhere. So that's why we're looking at, if we do on-street parking, it can't be the only solution, because it's not going to provide enough spaces to solve all the issues. And there isn't, I know for a fact, there isn't enough right-of-way to recess parking on both sides of the road in that area without taking property. There may be room on one side to do it, but to do it on both sides, it's not going to be feasible. So that's what we're looking at.
All right, any more comments on that area? We're at council report. Mr. Gallo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 things that I would like to discuss. One of them is a point of clarification. Jim, there's an issue coming back that we dealt with about a year ago, and I just would like to speak about it. I remember when I asked you about the closing of Palmasola on the Palmasola Bay on the south side to ski boats. You had told me that it was a state agency that had requested that ski boats not be used out there because they were damaging the seagrass and et cetera. And there's been a term used that we closed the ski ramp. And my point of clarification is there is and never has been a ski ramp on Palmasola Causeway. The only thing that's been out there is a boat ramp, which the county is in possession of, and they closed that boat ramp based on other issues. The main issue was that it didn't work the way it was designed. So that's coming around again, just to let you know, to be prepared that those questions will be coming to you about why it was closed and who ordered it closed.
Mr. Gallo, just as a clarification on that point, currently on the south side, on the southeast side of the causeway, there are personal watercraft launches allowed there.
Now.
Yes,
I'm talking about when it was closed down for a period of time.
I know, but I mean.
But there is no launch as far as a physical launch that's been built.
No, there is strictly.
There's no ski ramp. It's just, it's a low area that they can go in at.
I think years and years and years ago, we're talking 30 years ago, I think there was a slab on the northeast side where the horses are. There was a slab there.
Exactly. That's where I asked my wife to marry me, in fact. Was right by that ski ramp at night. We were watching submarines.
Yeah. The thing that happened years ago in that particular instance, only because, like Mr. Gallo, I'm very familiar with not his vows, but maybe what precipitated it went on there before a little bit too, but that was always a great ski area, way ahead of jet skis ever even existing, because the water was so calm. You could always go on the north side of the causeway and water ski. But the problem with that was there was no access point. So you had to bring your boat all the way from the island or wherever you were coming from to try to get in there for the most part, or try to launch it in really limited type of areas.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to bring it to Jim's attention and this council that that issue may be coming back before us again. The other thing is I'm really scared to do this, but I feel like it needs to be discussed by the council, and if in fact we want to do something, it'd be great. I received a phone call from a business owner, and she asked me if in fact the city would pass an ordinance and making her put a sign on her front door that says, "Do not enter without a mask." And I said, well, I don't know. But then I looked up the business and it wasn't in the city. So I told her she'd have to call Manatee County and get that done. But since then, I think some of us have got emails about masks. I have received some phone calls about masks. And as a matter of discussion, I'm supportive of what I'm going to say, but I wanted to see how the council felt. I'm not looking for one of these ordinances that, hey, if you're not wearing a mask, you're going to pay $500. What I would like to see, if in fact we could pass some type of an emergency ordinance that would mandate a business, not a restaurant where we know they can't eat with a mask on, but a business where the public goes, that they be mandated to put a sign on their front door that says, "Do not enter without a mask." And I think it could be easily done, because it would take us probably a week or two to be able to get that ordinance passed. That we could use code enforcement, who knows the city very well, to go out to each one of these businesses, talk to them, and for us to provide a sign for them to put on their front door. And I was just thinking what you all thought about that. Or asking, I should say.
Scott, I have a question on that, because I know initially when they were talking about closing businesses, there was great debate at that, and the debate was that only the governor had the authority to do something with businesses. Now, I don't know if, we're not talking about closing the business.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure we have the authority to be able to do that if we want to do it.
Well, there are.
Because the state is not mandating masks.
That's right. The governor has clarified in some of his orders that that local governments are not prohibited from going beyond what the governor's orders require. So from that standpoint, I think it is an area that potentially could be legislated by the city. There are a number of the different types of mask ordinances out there, and a number of them have also been challenged. So there are court cases going in a number of the jurisdictions now related to the enforcement of the mask ordinances. I don't know if I have seen any that are of the type that Mr. Gallo is talking about, because my understanding of what he's suggesting is essentially that the only requirement of the ordinance would be that the place of business have a sign up, and that there wouldn't be any enforcement beyond requiring the business to post a sign that says wear a mask when you're coming inside. I don't know if I've seen one like that. I'd be happy to look into it. If it was something that the council wanted to do as an emergency ordinance, it would require a supermajority vote. We could do it at the next meeting or at a special meeting if the council wanted to do
And the
that.
business owner would be responsible for enforcing it.
Scott, may I ask a question? Wouldn't the business owner have the right, if they put a sign up and somebody came in without a mask, to say, "Stop, you cannot come in here without a mask"?
Well, we'll start with this.
They own the business?
The business owner has that right now.
Okay.
So there's nothing prohibiting a business from posting a sign that says you must have a face covering to enter, or whatever the case may be. There's nothing to prohibit a business from prohibiting somebody from entering if they're not willing to comply. So the businesses are able to do that now.
Well, just as an example, you cannot get into a doctor's office without it. We know that. I had, my back was bothering me a couple of weeks ago, and I went, I'm not going to say what business, but I went to a therapy business, that I've never been to. And when I walked in, number one, the receptionist had no mask on. I could see where the people were that were getting therapy. They didn't have any mask on. So I turned around and walked out, which I have that right to do. But it's this crappy virus we got. One day you hear do this, and one day you hear do that. But bottom line, a mask is a simple thing to me. If in fact it helps, it helps. If it doesn't, big deal, you wore it and it didn't help. But you go into some of these stores, some of these grocery stores and Walmarts, and half the people walking around there do not have masks on. My feeling at a meeting like this, and I look around, pretty well everybody's got a mask on, and they should have to. So maybe we could encourage them by doing what I'm suggesting about putting a sign on the front door that says, "Do not enter if you do not have a mask on."
Mr. Gallo, I really support what you're wanting to do, but I've asked a couple of businesses where I went into, and the people, they actually had a sign, said you need a mask, and there were people in there that didn't have the mask. And I asked them about it, and they said, we're having a tough enough time getting customers to the store now. And we're not going to try to make anybody angry, but all we can do is ask and do that. Second is the county commission has voted this mask thing down twice. So
well, I mean, we see some municipalities. We've seen some municipalities, some county governments pass it. Some of them haven't. My honest opinion, I think it's been a political decision for a lot of them.
It has been.
And I'm sorry, but I don't care about politics. It would not bother me one way or the other if I feel it's a safety issue, which I do. That's the reason why I brought it up. And if I put you guys on the spot, I'd like to say I'm sorry, but that's not my intention. But in fact, if we feel strong enough about it, I'd like to see us do something that would encourage people to wear these masks out in the public. Not outside. That's to me is ridiculous.
Yeah, Mr. Gallo, I guess it was inevitable this was going to come up. So, I don't think you put anybody on the spot. Being a member of the Florida League of Cities who's fought for home rule for so many years, I find it, ironic that I'm going to say this, but, I think this is more of a state issue. I went to another state for the vacation, and they had a state law that required it everywhere, and it worked fine. And it was no time at all before, the state was already operating this way. My wife and I quickly fell into line with the rest of the state, and it worked fine. I'm a proponent of home rule, but in this particular case, as the mayor just stated, the county commission has already not endorsed this. The state is not endorsing it, and I think all we could be doing is creating a patchwork of rules. And my fear would be if we were to do something, it would be interpreted as political. And this is not a political issue, but it kind of is. And that I think that all the unintended consequence might be exactly what the mayor just stated, that we would do something and require something of the businesses, and everybody's just hanging on by their fingernails right now. And I'd hate to be imposing a rule on a business right now that someone would interpret because we're doing this, and it would have no teeth whatsoever. And some might like it, some might hate it, and it could be the difference of, you know, someone coming up, they were gonna come in and patronize a business, and because this sign's on the door, you know, they might say, you know, oh, I'm of the other opinion on this, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. And as you know, all you gotta do to cross the city line in this town is walk 5 blocks, you know. So I would hate to put anyone under any kind of, you know, more stress than they're already under right now. We're gonna be lucky. Any business that can hold on right now in this town, you know, is God bless them. I wish them all the luck in the world. But I think this is a state issue. It would really require, having seen this elsewhere, it would really require, you know, the Tallahassee to make a decision on this.
I agree with both of you. That's politically correct, isn't it? I think we should be making a strong recommendation, maybe not an ordinance, whether it be through a proclamation or a resolution, that we believe in public safety and that this virus is serious and we all should wear masks. But it's incumbent on the business owner to monitor that at their level, and we will support them if they choose to do so. If they put up a sign that says no mask and somebody causes a ruckus, then they can not allow them in their building, and our police force will be there to back it up. But I think that if we recommend it through like a resolution or a proclamation or even just a public statement, then it says that we are for this public safety and that we will support our businesses if they choose to make that decision.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I agree with everybody. No, the main point is yeah, I agree. The state, it should be a state issue, but also, you know, being a local elected official, sometime if the state doesn't do it, we gotta take it on at the local level. And in saying that, I don't know, you know, the direction that the council is gonna go as far as the suggestion, but you have other, you know, areas, places around that they have the mask mandates, and as we look and if we decide to go forward, I'd like to see, you know, some type of ordinances. I believe Sarasota's passed one, and other areas within the area, and at least explore that and see the direction that we may want to take as a local board. But I will say that it is something I feel it should come from Tallahassee. I agree with you on that. But a lot of times when, you know, it doesn't happen at other levels, sometimes we have to, you know, take it on at the local level to for public safety issues.
So with that said, what can we do?
Mr. Gallo, do you have a motion you want to make?
Well, no, I wanted to kind of feel the council out, and I'm not counting 3 votes, so I haven't heard from Ms. Barnebey yet, so I can't count her in or out. But I think I'm looking at a dead deal. And, you know, we say the state, we say the governor, but let's face it, the higher ups in the political world are more concerned, as far as I'm concerned, about the economy versus the lives. And I think that's horrible. I feel for people that own business that are, you know, that's their livelihood, but this is something that we have no control over, and I don't see the end of it the way it's going. I really don't. Our governor made a mistake. He opened this state, as far as I'm concerned, opened it up too quick, and look what happened.
Look at the governor of Texas, had to go on TV yesterday and back off what he had done. He said, I made the mistake.
Yeah, he opened up too quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
And, you know, I think some of the cities on the island, Scott, they've passed an ordinance about masks.
Yes, two of the island cities have
So it's not like we are pulling something out of the clouds and we're the only people doing it. And gosh, what's the big deal about putting a mask on walking into Walmart or walking into Publix or Winn-Dixie? It's no big deal.
That's right. I have a question. The ones, is that the mandate, mask mandate you're talking about? Which ordinances are you, because I'm hearing
Yes,
different.
that's my understanding. I haven't actually reviewed the Holmes Beach or Anna Maria ordinances, but that's my understanding is it's a mandatory mask. For
Indoor? Or
Indoor.
They got so many of them,
They
you
have a
know.
fine.
And then the other one
Right.
to,
I don't know how in the world they do that, but they have a fine.
yeah. Because, I mean, I'm hearing like, posting a sign versus mask mandates. And I would be in favor, and I'll put a motion forward that we, you can bring forward a suitable ordinance for first reading, at the next meeting. I don't know, we can't vote on anything in the supermajority today, but at the next meeting, have it prepared for us. And the only thing I would say is I would favor, some type of mask mandate. To be.
Scott, does it have to be an ordinance?
Yes, it'll need to be an ordinance. Either it can be done as a traditional ordinance. We could have first read on the 22nd, or if there's a supermajority, it can be done as an emergency ordinance. So,
Scott, do businesses not have the right to refuse service to anyone? Do they not have the right to stick a sign in their window right now saying you can't enter here if you don't have a mask?
yes,
They do have that right. They don't need our permission to do that.
correct.
That's my point. It's their call. If they want to endanger, if they want to risk, having a patron turn around, that's their economic gain, their economic loss. It's their call. It's their prerogative. It's their business.
So what are you saying?
I think without a state ordinance, we're just, we're just trying to, I understand the reasoning for it. I agree with it. Outside of right now, which I think I have enough distance to be, safe this second. But I believe, I believe that, I believe that this is without a statewide ordinance, I don't think we would be accomplishing anything.
Mr. Gallo, I would support you and Mr. Byrd, so if you're counting.
That's all I need to hear, and I want to make a motion correctly. And my ultimate goal, basically, is to put signs, mandates that businesses put signs on their, all public businesses, not, quite obviously restaurants where we know they're excluded from that kind of stuff, on their front door to prohibit people from entering without a mask on until further notice. You can't say 6 months, 2 days, what, so I don't know how the legal termination would be on that.
We can take a look at. Let me take a look at some of these other ordinances and see how they've been implementing them. I think my recollection is some are doing like they put it in for a certain time period, maybe 60 days or something like that, and then it expires unless it's extended by the council. That would be one way to do it. So let me take a look at some of those ordinances and get with staff and see what we can put together and bring back to the council for.
Okay, so my motion would be for you to look at it and bring back an ordinance for us?
Okay.
Before you get too far down, or what? Or who gets fined? Does the business get fined?
No fines. I'm not looking for fines.
Okay.
Do you need a motion, Scott, or can you just go do that?
I believe Councilman Byrd made a motion.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I just made one.
Okay.
I don't think I got a second, if I may.
Okay, I didn't know, I couldn't hear if there was a second, but I did
Yeah,
hear
I
you
don't
make a
think-
motion.
Is there a second?
I don't remember one.
On what you said, Mr.
What I
Byrd?
said earlier,
Okay,
well,
so
I don't think I have one.
technically, are you withdrawing your motion?
Yeah, well, without it fails
Without a second,
but yeah,
then,
I
okay.
withdraw, and we start from.
Make it
ground
easy.
zero.
Okay.
So I need mine seconded, right?
Mr. Mayor, I just have a quick, and well, I'll second go into discussion.
Thank you.
I just don't know if it's the proper time to really just, make a motion specific, when you could just come back and bring it back to us.
I don't necessarily need a motion.
Yeah.
As long as as long as there's
there's nothing wrong with
consensus.
voting now, but I don't think.
I think that, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I think that having a motion on the floor in a second and the discussion that we're having, and if it goes forward, to bring it forward, it sends a signal to our community that we are looking at the public safety aspect. I did receive an email this morning from a gentleman, William Rogers, that lives in the Ironwood area, wanting us to mandate people wearing masks when they are out in public. Now that I am at the ripe old age that I am at, I am considered high risk. I had asthma as a kid. I'm high risk. So, if you're around me, I do prefer I take the responsibility on myself to wear the mask, because I would feel horrible if I was one of those people that was asymptomatic but was indeed a typhoid Mary. So I think having this motion will get the conversation going. It will be out in the media, and it will alert the public that we are taking this seriously, and we're going to be looking at it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, one of the little ironies that I find with some of the businesses, if they were say, oh, I don't want to do that, they have built barriers to protect their people at the cash register or what have you. But the rest of the people in the store walking around have no barrier. So you would think that they would go along with what we're talking about. And that's the way I feel.
Mr. Gallo, I went into, like a week ago, the Wawa, and they had a sign, they were closed down. Their employees wouldn't come to work because they didn't mandate a mask.
Right.
So a few days later, I went there, and signs on the door, and everybody had a mask on. It's amazing what a sign can do. So
Right.
I said, every business should have a sign.
Thank you.
So I got a question, a legal question. If we got a motion and a second on the floor, if we get 4 votes, can we turn it into emergency ordinance?
Well, I don't have anything prepared to adopt, so I would ask that if the council wants to move more quickly than the 22nd, certainly we could schedule a special meeting if the council wanted to do that, and we could have an ordinance prepared and brought back for consideration at that time.
I certainly think if the numbers keep going up dramatically as they have, that we might want to look at that, Mr. Rudacille.
I agree.
I agree.
That's 4.
That the only reason I don't want the perception out there that, well, you talked about it, but you didn't do nothing. So we can talk all day long. Talk's cheap, right? So I don't like that being said too, and that will be said.
Okay.
If 4 of you are in agreement right now, then
We could do a.
you could do it today.
You don't have it written up. That's the.
He doesn't have it written.
The ordinance has to be specific.
Previously, when we've had special meetings under emergency situations, it's because we were facing a hurricane or something of that nature. I think that Mr. Rudacille is erring on the side of caution and wanting to make sure that what he brings forward is something that we can discuss and, should it pass, ultimately live with. And I'm fine with him taking a little bit of time to put it together. Trying to put an emergency declaration or ordinance together as you're sitting there, I think, is kind of difficult. Although some would say, if went to a good law school.
So we have a motion and a second for you to prepare an ordinance.
An emergency ordinance.
Well, and whenever you get that done, then we may have a special meeting just to deal with it.
Okay,
Is that what it is?
I can work within the time frame, whatever. If the council wants to go ahead now and talk about us setting up a special meeting, that would give me a time frame within which to work. So,
What's the council say?
Well,
We have,
I have to check my calendar.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Rudacille, do you think that you would be able to get something to us by Friday, or is that pushing it? Would you prefer next Monday?
I'm actually leaving town tomorrow morning for the weekend, but I'm sure there's other lawyers in our office that could prepare such an ordinance.
there better be. Or you'll have to stay home.
Will be, well, enough time if we did, we don't have a meeting next Wednesday.
Right, so if there were a meeting next Wednesday, I think we could have a draft out either by the end of this week or early next week, and then be able to consider that on Wednesday.
Okay. I'm fine with Wednesday. That's always a.
That would be
Is that all right with your motion, Mr. Gallo?
I'm sorry?
Is that all right with your motion?
Yes.
That'll be
And the
Wednesday,
second?
July 15th. Excuse me.
Okay.
You said July 15th?
Yes.
Yes.
That's next Wednesday, a week from today.
9 o'clock.
Works for me.
We have a motion and a second. Have the emergency ordinance prepared, having to do with signs on businesses for 9 o'clock, Wednesday, July 15th. Let's vote. Ward 1,
Yes, and thank you.
2,
Yes.
3.
I'm not in agreement with this, but for the sake of unity and not to drag this into politics, I'll agree with the majority of the council.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Scott, you have your marching orders. Anything else, Ms. Gallo?
No, there's not. And thank you very much to the council. Appreciate that.
Councilwoman Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing that I did want to bring up following our meeting that we had last week with our discussion of the Riverwalk extension, and I wanted to check with our chief if she wouldn't mind stepping forward for just a second to maybe answer some questions for me. This was something that after the meeting was over, I wished I had asked, so I thought I would bring it up here. Being familiar with having a park in a residential area, because most of y'all realize that Ward 2 does have Lewis Park, which is one of the oldest parks in the city and is completely encompassed by a residential area. And with the Riverwalk extension, we're looking at kind of going in and around and through other residential areas. Chief, I was just wondering, with the design that we have, has anyone in your office, or have you had the opportunity to look at it using the procedure that's called crime prevention through environmental design?
No, ma'am, we haven't been asked to do that. We haven't been provided any of the information related to the expansion.
Well, Mr. Mayor, at this point in time, if it is all right with you, I would like to have our police department do that, to look at the design that we currently have in place to see if there's anything right now that stands out to them that's going to become a policing concern, would make it difficult for residents, that kind of thing. I know that I did not sit through all of the community input sessions that we had, but again, when you have a park, and it is, as I understand it, designed to be more of a passive park than an active park. But when you have a park that goes into a residential neighborhood, I think it's important that we get it right the first time, and we have that input brought into our discussions and to our design input, and unless you would prefer not to.
No, I think we can, certainly the police department can look at that. We've been running a park a mile and a half long, the real Riverwalk, the first part.
Right, but
And so we've We have a lot of experience doing that. So it's not like this is a new thing for the police.
Well, I understand that, but I think that most would characterize the original Riverwalk as an urban setting.
It is.
And-
It's 24/7.
Right, and I think that the extension, again, I think that if we could have eyes look at it from the standpoint of preventing a situation that may cost us more money to go back and fix, if we can, again, get it right the first time, I would appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am, we actually encourage that. We just, this past year, had our primary person that provides that service retire. It's a year-long process. We're in the process of getting somebody else retrained. He went to one class and then everything else got canceled. But I'm sure I can call upon my relationships with some other agencies and get somebody here and take a look at that. It's always good to get in front of any potential crime issues as opposed to being reactive.
Again, because of some of the issues that occurred previously at Lewis Park and some of the situations that we had there, I just would feel that I wasn't doing my due diligence as a council person if I did not ask this question. So I appreciate that. And I would like to, again, thank the council, the mayor, the department heads, and the citizens for the warm welcome that I received. It was very touching. Thank you.
Mr. Roff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that note of the park and moving that forward, there'll be a meeting, several meetings today following this for the contract. And at this time, I don't plan on attending those except by phone. My injury tends to flare up as the day goes on. But I would ask, is there an intention to vote on that today? Because I think that we've done it two different ways, and I think it's best that we just take the information on and bring that up. Now that we're going to have a special meeting, maybe we can bring that up at that point in time.
Callahan?
Certainly, it has been done both ways. A lot of times we have taken the presentations, absorbed them, and then voted at the next meeting. And now we're going to be scheduled for a meeting the following week, so that's certainly doable if the council desires.
So it would be my request, if everyone doesn't mind to wait a week, since we're having a special meeting, that we can discuss it then.
I'm agreeable.
Agreement.
Mr.
Thank you.
Callahan, do we have 4 presentations or 3?
Last I heard, we have 3. Okay. I don't know if there's a phone call that came in. I don't know what it was. I was going to look at it. We originally started with 4 because of the nature of the concerns of the way we're doing business. One group had said that they would prefer to do a Zoom meeting. Well, we're not set up. Our analog capabilities do not allow us to do that here. We're looking at ways to still be able to do that. That time frame is a ways out. They said they would respectfully decline if that was the need to be here. So
Which one is that, Carl?
that is A Squared out of Fort Myers. What I did is to expedite time and not have you sit here doing that, I texted Mr. Allen and asked him if they could be ready for the 2:10 slot instead of the 3:30 slot so that you could take that up, and they said they would gladly accommodate that. I just want to make sure that this phone call wasn't coming in to me to say something other than that, so.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Roth?
No, sir.
Sanders?
At the last meeting, our police chief made a draft recommendation for a citizen advisory committee. And I agree with the Citizens Advisory Committee. I'd rather it be done as a citizen oversight committee because I think there's too many holes in this to make it effective. And I did some research, and we did have a Citizens Advisory Committee back in, this is July 18th, 2007 minutes. And under the previous chief.
What year?
2007. This is July 18th minutes. 2007. I know you said you was on, or what made me inquire about this is you said you was on an advisory committee before you were elected, which would have been about 2003 or 4.
Yes, it would have been.
So we've had
I
multiple.
was sworn in 2006, I don't recall this.
Yeah,
being in my-
Mr. Gallows was councilman. Marianne, you were councilwoman. Patrick, you were councilman. And that's the people that was present. Do you have any memory of this? And so there must have been 2, and they seem to come up, maybe I'm being suspect here, but they seem to come up in election years. Is that by design or by need? Anybody have a comment?
I don't even remember it. I don't know that it was ever used.
I only remember being on it as a private citizen, that's all I recall.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I seem to remember, I'm going back a ways here.
Michelle Weaver would have.
Well, I'm going all the way back to when I was just a wee child. I remember, I believe when Clyde Gill was chief of police, there was some sort of, and again,
Man, you are going back.
well,
Before
okay.
you, wasn't it?
Oh, hell, yeah.
That's before I was even fire chief.
It was, it was, I read the Bradenton Herald a lot as a child.
I'm sorry. You had a bad
Don't
child.
leave that alone. But they, at different points in time, different chiefs have either had a citizen group or advisory committee, or dependent on what the lexicon of the day was as to what they called it. Sometimes I think it came across as it was kind of an honorary thing to be asked to be on it. And other times, I think it came about in times of struggle. And so for the council to think that this is something new in the city, it's, to the best of my recollection, it has been many times, and it's kind of morphed into different things at different times. Again, I think I remember there was like a picture of upstanding citizens that were appointed, and they were all, to me, very tall white men. There was nobody in the picture that looked like me. So,
Gallo.
Yeah, Bill, the only one I remember, and I
Danny
was fire
Thorpe
chief,
had
and
one.
I was a board member on it, but I believed it was called the Merit Board, and we dealt with an issue in the police department about firing a police officer for something I forgot. In fact, it was a good fire because I think he, in later years, ended up killing his wife, shooting his wife. So
Oh.
that's the only, but I thought it was called a Merit Board, not a.
Well, there is a merit board, and I think.
Yeah, and it had private citizens on it, plus I think I represented department heads at that time, I believe. But that was back under Bill Evers.
Yeah, but this is different. What we are doing now is different than that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't remember ever having that kind of a board, but I remember that
Well,
particular board.
My point was that we've had these before, and they seem to fizzle out. And I don't want the public to get a misconception of what is being attempted here. And I don't disagree with having a board, but I disagree with a board that has no authority. They become ineffective. Would anyone entertain this board having more authority under perhaps a resolution?
We have looked at all over, everywhere, about these committees and how they work and how they ought to work. And so,
Mr. Mayor?
we've looked at best practices all, everywhere.
Mr. Mayor,
And that's how we got to where we are today.
I guess I have a question and maybe a comment afterwards. At the last meeting, we were presented with the draft, and I didn't know what was in store today. I brought the draft with me here today. My question is that as I look at it, it says it's no effective date yet. And I looked at that draft being presented at the last meeting as being the first step in trying to come up with a board or public policy that was going to be, totally something that would be in final form to us. And then, even though it wasn't in a meeting or email or anything, I've gotten a couple of calls and emails, people that were inquiring as far as application process that they say they saw through the media. And so my question is that, do we have a complete, proposal before out there now? Are we still with the draft trying to, as a council, as a city, trying to improve upon that document, or where are we at this point?
So as I mentioned last week, what this is a starting point. And I will tell you that I don't think it should be an ending point that occurs in this room. Our goal, and I will tell you that we've gotten a great deal of response. We've sent out upwards of 10 applications from people who have indicated interest. The process is that we have determined what wards they sit in. As soon as they are done with this very easy 1.25 page application, it will be sent to you all to make your determination if they're one of the folks who you'd like to put forward. But we wanted to have a process and a central point. Lots of interest. The idea is that I will tell you, just because I'm a college professor, I've read over this 5 times and I keep finding some grammatical errors, and so I've changed it 4 times since you saw it, but it's not anything substantive. It's simply some tweaks here and there. My goal is to provide this to the committee as a starting document and let the group, the sitting group, make any decisions moving forward. This is why that's important. When I hear things such as oversight, more teeth, what I will tell you is that there's 2 things going on. We are in the state of Florida. Florida state statutes dictates when it comes to the Police Officers' Bill of Rights, the authority that folks can have over the discipline process and what they cannot have. As well, the contract that I believe was just voted in is very clear that anything that pertains to the discipline process within the agency is subject to impact bargaining. I know that firsthand because I'm going through negotiations currently as we speak with the union regarding body camera testing and evaluation. And so be mindful that it's virtually impossible, well, I won't say virtually impossible, but just be mindful of those 2 caveats when it comes to this. Our whole goal is that, and I will tell you, I've already had a couple police chiefs ask, even somebody in New Jersey, you got me on that one, he heard about it and asked to get a copy of it yesterday. Heard it was good. I think it's a great starting point, and I would fully expect that this committee looks at it, evaluates it with an attorney sitting in the room that can help direct them what they can do, what they can't do, with goals, objectives, that type of thing, takes it from there. As I said before, it's a starting point, it's timely, it's necessary.
Well, okay.
Does that answer your question about the draft?
The
committee is the one that's going to work through the draft.
Yeah, well, my question is we don't have a committee yet, number one.
Right.
And I haven't been asked for a anybody.
I asked you at the meeting when we announced
we all
it.
have is a
I
draft.
said I want 2,
draft,
I want you to suggest 2 people from
we
your
got,
ward.
this was thrown at us at the last meeting. It said it's a draft.
Did you send out an email?
It's a draft, And my opinion was we come back and we get a formal document. Then you ask us for suggestions.
This is
and we go from there.
This is
And that's
through-
why I say where are we at?
This is through the police department. This is not this council.
No.
Deciding on
I'm not saying that. You asked us for recommendations.
Yes.
Okay. It's clearly in the document. I read the document.
Okay.
So if it's a draft, when do you want those individuals the names to come before you?
Now.
That was actually in the press release that
was
you
in
all
the
were
press
copied in on. It had a due date of,
Right, and I was surprised by the press release moments after this draft and didn't have an opportunity to voice my opinion. So I have you're looking away, I have very much concerns about this. Oh, well, thank you. I have a real concern. Look, you've got, nobody can do anything for 6 months after internal investigation. That's not a real committee.
sir, that's not true.
That's what it
That's not
says right
accurate.
here.
That is not what it says, sir.
Complete internal affairs, completed internal affairs investigations within 180 days. The board can't look at this for 6 months.
No, it's
If
not
we
that
have an
they.
incident here, we
No,
can't.
sir, that is not an accurate statement.
Well, that's
What it says is that the board has the ability to review a case for up to 6 months. They have the opportunity to look at a case for up to 6 months.
It says completed internal affairs investigation within 180 days of final deposition.
Correct.
So
they
it could
can
be
review
6
it.
months before a board even takes a look at it.
No, sir, you're reading that incorrectly.
Well, I don't know how else to read.
Okay. I will just tell you
Alleged
that.
use of excessive force within 180 days. Any instance wherein the police action results in death or serious bodily injury within 180 days.
Correct.
You're giving a 6 months window to not present it to a board.
That's not accurate, sir.
That's
You're-
what the document says.
That's not what it says.
Well, I just read it verbatim.
Okay. Everybody can read it. I read it much differently.
So why did
I'm
you give
making
this
it
to
quite
us?
clear to you that the board, it's not a board, it's a committee, has the ability to review discipline instances up to 6 months. And again, that is a starting point. If they feel as though they need 7 months, that's going to be
So
the
this
board's
board-
prerogative.
This board can immediately address any issue.
Following the conclusion of the discipline case, they can immediately address any issue.
Which can take 6 months. That's what this says.
Can take, or
It says, gosh, you also received this, completed internal affairs investigations within 180 days of final disposition. That says that this committee that you're forming can't even look at it until it becomes.
That is not what it says, sir. It's
Well,
just not.
What does it say?
It's saying that you have up to 6 months to review that case.
So that we can review it day one?
Absolutely. Following the conclusion of the case, absolutely. My assumption would be that the next meeting that the committee members have, they're going to review that case.
But you're not going to give it to them until an internal investigation is done.
Absolutely.
You'll give it to them immediately?
After the case has been completed.
Well, how long is that? 6 months?
However long the investigation takes,
It
sir.
could take a long time.
Investigations take
I
a
know.
variety of
I
time.
know. That's what we've witnessed across the country, that what the public is infuriated about, that nothing is done for a year and it's forgotten.
Okay, well, that's not what happens at the Bradenton Police Department. What I will tell you is that we follow
That's the way it's-
discipline procedures, we follow the rules of law, we follow the Police Officer Bill of Rights, and due process. That's what we do here. I can't speak for other agencies. What I will tell you is that we do what we must do.
Well, Chief, I was in office 3 months last year. And I woke up to Good Morning America and the Bradenton Police Department made national news for one of our officers that was chasing women around, over 250 women, harassing them, using the internal office for his pleasure. He was not fired. He was asked to resign. So he's probably out working somewhere else today. I went on
That's not
I went on
accurate, sir.
ABC News and you scolded me for 2 hours at my home that night for doing that. And I said that I would try to fix this. We can't have that. We had another one just recently, a resource officer dating a high school student at Manatee High. That's not right. That's not right. We had another officer that you hired out of Tampa that was fired. He comes into our PD bumps rank, upsets the other officers, and is accused of theft. Would this board see those types of incidents before you had an internal investigation? I likely think not.
I'll try to respond to that in order. Foremost, the sergeant in question was not asked to resign. He resigned before he was terminated, and the paperwork clearly shows that that was a termination case. That case did take a long time to investigate because we painstakingly looked through every single contact he had had over years to ensure that not one person that might have been impacted by his behavior was left untouched.
Excuse me, is this the officer with the 250 instances?
Well, it wasn't 250 incidents.
Well,
but that's who I'm speaking about.
But he had done this before. He was accused of this years before and was reprimanded.
As I was saying, sir, he didn't resign. He resigned before he was terminated. And I will tell you, part of my job as the police chief, particularly when I came here 4 years ago, is to ensure that misconduct on behalf of my officers is dealt with. I'm transparent about that. I don't take discipline and shove it in a drawer. I'm very visible about it, and I always have been with not only the public, but every member of this council. You're right, we have had some instances of misconduct amongst our ranks, and it's unfortunate. But what I will tell you is that that misconduct is rooted out, and it's dealt with swiftly and quickly. Always has been since I've been here. We follow the rules of law, we follow due process, and I deal with misconduct harshly when necessary.
Well, I disagree with you on the swiftly and quickly.
However, I will tell you that that is an accurate statement, that any committee will not have the ability to review the facts and circumstances of a discipline case prior to it going through due process within the agency, or in the case of deadly force, outside of the agency with FDLE, who investigates all of our use of force.
Mr. Mayor, I have one last comment, and normally, and I really don't handle things in this manner. I know we talked about the urgency and the way this board came about. I would have preferred, I don't take, any type of directives or try to go in any, take any course of action based upon a press release. I would have preferred an email asking, and saying that this was completed and ready to go forward. Having said that, as you know, I'm not running for Ward 5. And right now, there's an urgency, and please, both of you, forgive me, I usually would have talked to either one of you by now. We have two good candidates running for Ward 5, and I would urge both of them, Mr. Keenan Wooten and Ms. Pamela Coachman, both of them, I say at this point, I'd like to ask them to make proper application to the board, such as the urgency. Usually I would have called someone and so forth, but I'd like to do that right now. And if they're interested, they put their names in there from Ward 5 and go through the process, and we go from there.
Unfortunately, sir, one of the exclusions is somebody running for office. We wanted to take the politics out of this committee.
Okay.
I'm not done. I have a candidate, and I've invited them here today. And I'm going to read you a short, is that okay, Ms. Bevan?
We have lots of applicants.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize a draft became final, but now that I know that it's final, and you said I could have a recommendation, can I have a recommendation?
You can have a recommendation, send it to me.
No, I want to read this first. I've got a time slot here that I'm allowed to read this, I'm supposed, right?
Mr. Sanders, you do what you want, just
I-
like you
I-
always
I-
do, like you
I-
always do. Go ahead.
Well, I think you've been here
Go ahead.
21 years and done what you want, so.
Go ahead, my friend.
That being said, I have a candidate here with us today. Has a 33-year FBI career. He's supervisor of special agents of an FBI NYPD Joint Terrorism Task Force Squad. He was. Firearms instructor and police instructor. Has a bachelor's in criminology from the University of Vermont. Management training at the FBI Academy and the Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management. Worked cases as special agent in the white-collar crime, civil rights, violent crime, organized crime, and counterterrorism. Currently serves as a contract instructor for the Military Special Forces Training Program. Very qualified individual. And I present to you, and I'd like to make his application. His name is Dan Parrish. He's sitting here. If you'd stand, if you'd like to have a couple things to say, you're welcome to. Otherwise, this is the retired FBI agent, and he is in my ward.
Mr. Sanders, I would assume we're
I know you
going
don't.
to have several people that
I
want to
know,
apply.
but this is
And that's
proper.
fine, that's fine.
So you're,
Thank you very much for,
oh, you doing the,
we'll look at his application.
you'll look at his
Well,
application.
you shouldn't, yeah, you shouldn't get any special things that other council people don't get.
Everybody has entitled to do that. He just did it.
That's fine. He said, and we talked about
So
that.
you're objecting to this?
No, it's fine. It sounds like a great application.
Oh, I know, you did, yeah. That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor. Mr.
I
Mayor.
think he's,
Gallup.
Council, I'm going to share this with you. I wasn't going to. This is just a point of interest for you. A friend of mine is a member of the NAACP, and she was requested to do a survey of cities that have these boards. And I think it was either 9 or 12 cities, municipalities that she did. I happened to get the report even before the NAACP got it, and I believe before the chief got it, because the chief met with the NAACP about it. And what I want to share with you, out of all the cities that she got information on, only one of them, I believe, you might correct me, Chief, had subpoena powers. The rest of them did not. But the point that I want to make, that this summary, if I'm correct, said that these boards don't work very well. And I say that to you so it won't be a shock to you if and when it happens in the city of Bradenton.
I agree with you.
Pardon me?
I agree with you.
I still didn't hear you, Bill. I'm
Said
sorry.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, just for a matter of information, but I've read the report, and didn't excite me much. Again, I was, I'm supporting it for the chief to do it, and I was reminded that I was opposed. But what I want to clarify was that my opposition at that time was that if we were going to have it for one department, we should have it for all of them. And I haven't changed my mind on that. I dislike that we're selecting one department in the city of Bradenton to have this advisory board. I personally feel like we need to have one for each department, and that's just a matter of my feelings. Thank you.
Sir, if I can just respond, and I recall that, and that's really what went into the creation of this. What you see is a lot of cities have review boards, and their only focus is to review concluded internal affair cases and then opine on that to the chief and whomever else. What we did is carefully look at cities who had both advisory boards, review boards, call it what you will, and create a mix of that, because my goal is for this, I really don't do anything that's not successful. And my goal is to have success with this and have a group of engaged citizens who want to sit down as often as they'd like and put their heads together and look at policies and procedures and training. And I just had breakfast yesterday. Somebody asked, who I didn't know, to kind of walk them through that to see if they were interested. And they said, so this could really be something very beneficial to the city. I said, absolutely. And that's my goal with this, is to not have this onus of just being to look at discipline. Again, Councilman Sanders listed the 3 serious incidents since I've been here. We really don't have a lot of internal affair cases. We don't. They come from time to time. I say that, and tomorrow, who knows what could happen. And that's why we wanted to expand their ability to really engage and to look at everything. You talked a little bit about Miami's model. I will tell you that to support that model, it costs about $250,000 a year. It's an independent entity with their own attorney, with their own investigators. I don't know that the city of Bradenton needs that or is ready for that. I will again say, I think that this is a good beginning. I will also tell you that I had no idea that we had that many retired law enforcement in the city of Bradenton. I've received communication from at least half a dozen retired law enforcement who have an interest in serving on this committee. So I will tell you that, I will tell you, I'm not the one making the selection, but I welcome their experience and their knowledge. I certainly don't want a whole group of ex-cops. I think that will kind of be doing the city a disservice. Whoever gets decided is great, but I certainly don't want a whole group of ex-cops. And I had no idea we had so many living in this city. It's good to know I've got some backups out there.
Mr. Byrd?
Okay. I guess I'll carry on. You're good. Yeah. Oh, you're good to go. Yeah, I'm on my business here. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll start at the discussion as far as the Bradenton Housing Authority. We talked a little bit earlier. Just wanted to update council. I spoke the last meeting, and we talked about the possibility of having the administration to come before and pretty much just give us more of a update and state of the authority type of I guess presentation. And we talked about trying to make communications and have an invitation out. Since that time, I did have a Zoom meeting and stated that again with the administration and asked them to please come forward. And I guess at this point, I see the agenda, we don't have anything at this point where they've committed to doing that. One of the biggest examples is that the situation with the parking. In looking at and talking with some of the residents, there's a situation where a lot of them are parking on the city street, so there is a problem. We can, if you come up with a solution, if we just, try to, get together, but if we can't even get together and have just come before us, as a board and tell us what's going on, how can we solve some of these problems? So that's one of the things. And also, as a point of the resident, it was mentioned at the last meeting that we need to come forward with a resident board member appointment, and I've been talking with different individuals, trying to ask them about to maybe consider, placing their information, resume, or what have you, into the I guess, the mayor's office for a possible appointment. And in doing so, I kind of got a good feel on with talking with some of the residents on not only the parking situation, but they voiced some concerns. I won't say complaints, but concerns. And I said that when I talked with them, I said I won't give specific names because it's not a formal complaint per se, but I will say that there are some concerns. And the reason I bring that out is that over my time here on council, we have had some situations within the housing authority, and one of the things that I always notice is that when you start getting these concerns and people that have questions or concerns, that's usually saying that there's some things that probably could stand some improvement or so forth. And in saying that, I want to say to council that with the situation, it would be really nice if we could finally, have them come before us, the administration from the housing authority, and if not, what we're going to see is we're going to see residents, and we've had some others that have come before this body, and y'all know this autonomous body over there. All we do is appoint. And, but we're going to start having individuals coming. They're going to voice those concerns here. And so I just wanted to bring you an update on that. I don't know if I think he had some, Mayor, he has.
Yeah, Mr. Byrd, on that note, because you know more about this than I do, I was interested when Jim spoke about that there was a property over there owned by the housing authority, because the one thing that I knew, we're talking about Bradenton Village. I knew that was a Hope 6. I knew that was multi-government facility. So is there, I'd like to know how big of a property that is, and who has control of that? So it's owned by the housing authority, or is it owned pseudo by
and that's
Bradenton?
why we have to have open dialogue and discussion with the housing authority and the administration over there, because it's all been, I've been here for many years. My opinion is, I haven't checked the land records, but it's housing authority property. And, and that's what I'm saying. If we have open dialogue and there's a parking problem right in that area, then, let's come together and try to come up with some solutions.
Yeah, if they own the land, we could, we could work with them on a lot.
But I would say we start moving in that direction and trying to do that. But we can't even, and that's my frustration is that, we have to have that open line of communication, and I'm just one. It was brought out in the Zoom that you're the liaison, and right. But I'm just one of 6 elected officials. It would be nice if you can come before all of us, as well as you got planning departments, fire departments, police departments, other department heads that'll be at this meeting, and it's really important. And nobody's saying you got to be at every single meeting. But, if you just come once a year, the state of the housing authority would be great in my mind. But, I just wanted to update the rest of council, on that. Moving on, the next one may take a little bit longer, so I'll go to the planning director. And I was wondering where are we at along those lines. I don't know if it's under your business, Carl, or...
I can respond here, it's fine. Thanks for getting me all of y'all's list, that was good. Ms. Barnebey, we still either, maybe easier just to go through with me where we are on that. What we did is through everybody pretty much had reached the consensus when you kind of tally votes, who wants who. That about 5 of them came out with a couple of votes, which meant that was pretty consistent with where everything was, okay? Because of that, we reached out to all 5 between the last 2 days and said, are you still interested? Unfortunately, we've only received responses back from 3 of them.
Okay.
So there's a couple of people who just said, one said, no response at all, just went dark. One said, I want to talk to my wife, but I think the answer is we haven't heard or the interest is there. So really, of the 5 that garnered multiple votes from everybody, I think we're down to 3 from that perspective. Not saying it has to stay at that, but that's kind of where we are right now. We are waiting to get with Mrs. Barnebey on where she was on this, but that's pretty much where it is. I think the candidates that are there are still very good candidates, and I think the candidates that are still in the 3 are still on everybody's list. So it's not like anybody's been excluded from there, that any of the council people, well, there's nobody on my list from that. Well, maybe Mr. Gallows, but that's okay. His list wasn't quite as extensive as everybody else. So.
Is there any kind of way that we can perhaps, since we already have this big special meeting next Wednesday, have some kind of a finalization as far as the list of names?
That's what I want to be able to do is
Okay.
with Ms. Barnebey, and then we can say, okay, based on what we've now seen, she may add somebody in that brings somebody else into that list that we would reach out to and say, are you interested in the job still?
Yeah.
And let you know who those folks are.
Mr. Mayor, I did go through this, but the first question I had was, how many of these are still viable? So I wanted to get with you to find out if you have reached out to some of them, you know, I mean, this is a big packet. And again, how many of these are still looking, some of them move from far away.
Well, those are things that once you see that, we'll have to determine where does council want to go, because it's not just hiring a person. What kind of package are you going to give to someone? You know, is the expectation you just show up day one? If you're asking people to move from out of state, because that may be, what are you going to do to help facilitate that? Those are all questions that would come up once you've narrowed it down. Because also, like when we've talked to the third-party recruiters, that one-on-one interviews are still very critical to a position of this nature. And a lot of times they'll do one-on-one interviews to begin with, and then they do one-on-one interviews with the potential counsel and potential employer. So to get a feel for that, we want to make sure that how people get comfortable with meeting us, seeing y'all. That's a key part of it too, even once you narrow it down to 1 or 2 or 3.
And Mr. Mayor, even in my mind, we may want to do Zoom meetings with these people that are far away. And we may, if we can't do it here, we may need to look at a facility where we could do that. Because I think it's important when we're talking about offering this position that we look the person in the eye and see. I go back to a time when I served on the Library Board of Trustees, and we were looking for a new head librarian, for lack of a better term. And we did these interviews over the internet with people. Very interesting how some people do come across very well. Maybe they've had a lot of experience doing that. And you hope that that would transfer into personal experience with the community, as well as there are people that are not very comfortable with it. And you wonder, well, if they're not comfortable talking to 4 or 5 people, how are they going to handle talking to an entire community? So I think that would be something that we might want to look at doing.
Right. I think, from what I've seen so far, because of the nature of the position we're asking for as the planning director, I think the people that you're seeing have a lot of experience in dealing with the public. That's by the nature of their jobs they've had to date. That's one of the things when we looked at how much experience do people have. Do they have management experience, which all of those, do they have community relations experience? All those things which would say they have to have been out in the community. They have to have dealt with multiple different types of people, different entities, a lot of different things. And that, I think that's, and I see that in the selection so far. So I think that's good. I don't see anybody sitting out there that just says they're a one-trick pony and this is all they've done and they've got nothing else going on. We don't have any of those in some of these final numbers. But the ability to talk to you, whether it's through Zoom, at some point in time, I still think, somewhere along the line, it would be best if it's still face-to-face. It really is. And Zoom is a preliminary step. That's why some of these search firms are saying it's not an ideal time to be hiring somebody because they're having difficulty getting people in front of their potential employers.
Right.
Okay. The second half of that, of course, is Economic Development Director. And I just wanted to, we talked about a little bit of it last time, and the need, and especially with things happening the way that they are. I think we need to explore how we want to handle that particular position. I know you have both of those positions right now as a city administrator. And one of the I mentioned it the last time we talked about it, I think we need to come up with some kind of a plan on how we want to go about this, simply because we have the COVID-19 situation at as far as city hall operations and everything, and we interviewing and other things, and if we're looking for that permanent position, it's going to be sort of I guess a more of a difficult situation. So I had mentioned the last time on, whether we should go in the direction of maybe looking for that permanent position over a period of time, and the possibility of having some type of contractual consultant type of a situation for someone in the interim or the short term, or having just an outright interim individual coming in and looking at being that, filling that position until we find a permanent position. So I just wanted to reiterate some of the, some of the points that I would like to look at as far as how we proceed. But definitely, I don't see in the short term us trying to just get out and have a permanent position right now as Economic Development Director in the same fashion as we're doing the Planning Director. So I wanted to, bring those things out and hear maybe some council discussion or dialogue or input along those lines. But we need to move in that direction of finding a way of getting to a permanent Economic Development Director.
My thought, Harold, on this was, I was looking to see how smoothly we can get through the planning director process. We all remember we tried to have an executive assistant, and that didn't go so well. So I'd like to get to that, but I'd like to see how quickly, and Carl, I know that Ms. Barnebey needs clued in on this, because I think that, correct me, Tim Polk was still a director when you were here, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So since then, we've learned things, that we want to, Carl needs to probably one-on-one you with this, and would it be, I mean, since we've looked at the pile and we've got it whittled down to 3 of 5, gosh, that took us, for the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, we started out with like 120 executives, and we got it down to where we interviewed 14 by phone, and we got it whittled down to where we could get it down to, I think, 3 or 4 in-person interviews. So we're already at 3 of 5. That took us 6 months to get there.
Okay. And I just I hate to keep going back to the economic development director position, but all I'm saying to council right now is that we got to start talking about it. Look, how long have we been talking about, the situation of not having a planning director? And that's all I'm saying right now is let's just try to, I understand getting through this particular one as far as hiring a planning director and see how that goes. But I think we need to be fully aware. And we just passed an ordinance here today. And it's going to be a ballot question. Mm-hmm. And what happens when, if effective date, January 5th? The last thing we need is to have more administrative duties placed on an individual that is still trying to be a planning director and be an economic development director. Mm-hmm. So, I understand the urgency, and we're looking at the plan, but let's at least start talking, having some dialogue on, the other big one, which is the Economic Development Director. So that was, that's pretty much, my section on that. And the last one is for Public Works speed strips. We talked last time about the bumps, and we said we were going to see if technology-wise whether the strips are working better or the virtual 3D type of, and the area is kind of funny. A lot of discussion is on the area I was inquiring about is Bradenton Village. There are some inquiries saying that a lot of kids that are playing in the area, and they're going through there at a rapid pace, and trying to look at something. And I didn't know how the speed strips, are those something that will be doable, say, within that particular area, or virtual type of
Well, essentially it's the same technology. It's just a different format. If we put the strips like we did in Kingston Estates, that's just something to create a visual, and two, a sensory sound as you drive across it. The 3D items that we talk about, it's the same material. It's just put down in a different format to look a different way. So if I had been waiting to hear from you where the site was, and we'd be happy to take a look at either one of them.
Right, it's Bradenton Village, but I was more, my inquiry was going to be on the durability, because we were having problems on the ones that were placed in Kingston early on. And,
well, the durability of either of those is exactly the same, because they're made of the same material. It's a thermoplastic material.
So it is
that's put
something
down
that could
they'll wear away and eventually just need to be replaced. And that's easy enough to do.
It depends on what would be best for the area, and the durability could last for a substantial amount of time to
and is it
to accomplish the goal.
At least within Braden Village, is it 3rd Street that's the issue?
It's yeah.
Okay.
So, but okay, that's pretty much it. Nothing else to report on. Okay.
Ms. Beauchamp, you have anything?
Just very briefly, I want to let you know that the county's been advertising that they've got CARES Act funding available. I'll be sitting in on a call on Friday to learn what might be available to the city. This is relative to the COVID dollars that have been available and any expenses that we've had to date on that money. So hopefully that will be very productive for the city. And the only other thing I'll mention very briefly is that we've got a quote coming this week to upgrade the video technology in this room. It's not that we haven't been working on it, it's just that in this day, it is extremely difficult to get the equipment and the folks that you need to put something like this together, because we're not the only ones in need of this. So we've been working on it. We should have a quote this week I'll bring back to y'all, and we'll look at some ideas on doing some upgrades as far as video's concerned in this room.
How are the views on the council on the?
Oh, I didn't check. I know we've had a lot of internal people looking at it, so when you look at the number of views, you're probably going to see a whole lot of clerk office making sure it's working okay and it's what we expect. So I can report on that next time.
I've had a lot of good feedback on it.
Good.
By media, like ABC, NBC, papers.
A lot of folks had been getting copies of the video from us on DVDs or whatever,
Right.
so this just makes that easier. We don't have to burn those. They can just go there directly and look at it.
And there's a historical record of it. I'm very impressed with it.
Good. We're getting there. That's all I had.
Jim, anything?
Our weekly report went out this morning, and you'll see in there a discussion under our solid waste collection. Due to COVID and precautionary testing, we've been hit with about 6 drivers being out. Our first priority is garbage. But we are running into cases where even some of the front-end collections, as far as whether it's an apartment complex or whether it's a restaurant or some other commercial entity, that we've had some issues with it. We are about a day behind on some of those things, and yard waste is still about a day behind. And we are monitoring it on a day-to-day basis. Again, garbage will always be our first choice. Recycling would be the first one that we would say, if we need drivers someplace else, we're going to put them on yard waste and garbage, and yard waste would be last. But just so you're aware, if you get phone calls from people, we're getting those phone calls too, and we're shuffling the deck as best we can from day to day.
Mr. Mayor. Jim, thanks. I saw in your report that I got this morning, yesterday there was a sewer line break on 2nd Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And where are we at on that revitalization of 2nd Avenue? Give me some, I know you've went out and surveyed it, and because I see the markers.
We have the consultant firm has developed a conceptual design. I have asked them to, it's basically in plan and profile format for engineering drawings. If I bring that to you the way it looks, you're not going to really be able to understand. So I've asked them to put the design on an aerial format so that I can bring it to you and show you, here's what we would be doing in particular areas, so you can see the potential impact before we have them go ahead with any further design beyond that. I'm waiting on that information, and I intended to have it at a workshop in the very near future to be able to do that.
So you think that you'll be able to have something in that next 30, 60 days?
I would definitely say within the next 30 days, yes.
Okay, thanks. Because that was, and I assumed there was no, you said there was no leakage into the storm sewer system. And
yeah, basically it was captured in the curb line. Our guys saw it fast enough where we were able, it's a small enough lift station that we were able to maintain it by pumping it down with our vac truck. They were out there until 8 o'clock last night trying to make the repair, problem being it's a cast iron pipe that's 1954.
Right.
And sometimes you end up chasing the break before you find some good pipe to make the final connection to.
Well, that's the oldest section of the city, is it not? I mean, when you
it's
have
the
lift
oldest.
stations and it's numbered 1, 2, and 3, isn't that by date? Kind of.
Sort of, but
Sort
not
of.
really. I
So
mean,
that's not their rating. That's not pumping capacity, is it?
no, not
That's
at all.
They're not number 1. They're probably.
There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 7 lift stations that are all 1954.
Right.
All built the same. The set of plans is one set of plans for all of them.
Right.
No, they've been updated. Most of them have been updated to some extent.
We've been doing a good job at our lift stations, haven't we?
Yeah, and but there are still some of the. I mean, lift station 1, which is part of the Shoreview project, is being replaced. It's hopefully within the next month or so we'll be able to get that offline and into the new one. So
Now that you mentioned that lift station, you had done a report. I saw it. That there was very few houses utilizing that lift station. I believe the number was like 7, 10, 15, houses, and only like 3 businesses in that old Bradenton district. Is that a true statement?
I'd have to double check.
You still have that report? I have it someplace. It's probably buried, but it was very little. Because we wiped out 60 some odd homes in there for
We wiped them out, but we got new ones going in.
Right. But that's my point is we can get in that discussion another time because that's kind of a little controversial, but that's up for a whole hour-long discussion, isn't it, Mr. Callahan? So the next thing, while you're here, I get a lot of complaints about city streets and sidewalks and so forth. Probably my number 1 calls or emails. And, I caught you last time and asked you that have you ever done a study on what it would take to bring our city streets and sidewalks up to what you felt was comfortable that you could live with it. And you told me that it'd been a while since you'd done it, and I asked you if you'd revisit that. You said it was about $7 million
Well, when
to
we,
bring it up, and then probably $1 million
that
a
was,
year
that was
there.
roadways only, not sidewalks.
Not sidewalks, okay.
Yeah, and that was back in 2011 or 12, I think, when I did that assessment. And like I've told you, we've spent roughly between paving projects and utility projects, we've spent about $2 million a year over the last 5 or 6 years related to paving. I think we've done most of the low-hanging fruit as far as fixing roads where it's just a paving project, straight paving project. Beyond that, we get into the point where we now need to make a repair to a storm sewer system or add a storm sewer system, as the case may be. Otherwise, we're paving a road that's just going to get destroyed and not live up to its, design of 20-year life.
Right. So, will you be looking at that again, or can you look at that again?
Well, I can certainly update the paving as it relates to that. I know we've done. We have a sidewalk survey that tells us basically it was done, street by street to assess the conditions, and in most cases when we're doing a utility project, we're also attempting to address sidewalks and things of that nature as we do it. But if you were going to go out and repair all of the sidewalks, it's a significant investment. I don't have the number off the top of my head to give it to you.
You'd be talking about just about all of Ward 3.
Well, all of Ward 3, all of Ward 2, there's some the older portions of town are just the areas where the sidewalks are in the worst conditions.
Right.
I'm sorry, I actually got a letter from Joe Henry, the famous or infamous Joe Henry, asking me if I still have my bicycle, because he said I would ride my bicycle around Ward 2 and find work for Public Works.
I'm sure you would.
So.
Hey, I'm not gonna. I got the best job security in the world. There's every day there's something new. So I'm not trying to say that Ward 2 or Ward 1 has nothing, or Ward 5. We're in the process of trying to do them. From the standpoint of sidewalks, the city has traditionally budgeted somewhere between $70,000 to $100,000 a year for concrete work to do for our crews. And I can assure you every year we spend $70,000 to $100,000. So.
Jim, on that note, I guess for Mr. Sanders, because he wasn't here at the time, that as we were coming out of the recession, I know that the council had made a decision that roads that they'd been neglected for long enough and it was, I remember we started off with a few, because it was a whole new budgetary item.
Mm-hmm.
We started off, doing some. It was very positive. We put more money in it. It's very positive. We put more, and then we went into the enterprise fund. So I think we've done a good job. I mean, we're not done with roads, but I think we've really, Claude Tankersley was here when we started with it. I remember that we've gone, I think we attacked the worst first, and we've done better, doing the enterprise fund and replacing the pipes, astronomical, great success story. But we knew at the time the sidewalks was a whole nother elephant. And I would love to get into a conversation about sidewalks, because I walk my neighborhood, and I could tell you, if I come up against a block that hasn't been broken, it's rare. So, but that's gonna be a whole nother elephant that we're gonna have to bite off.
If we get in my ward and I find a sidewalk, I'm surprised.
And they don't want one either, don't they?
They don't.
Well, again, when we did the road assessment originally back in 2010, we went block by block throughout the entire city. We rated each block based upon a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being it's brand new, 1 meaning it's not even savable, you gotta rebuild the entire roadway, like the base is gone and all of that. As would be expected, it was a bell curve. Most of the roadways in the city were 5, 6, 7 in that range. And so we were attacking the 2s and 3s. There really weren't that many 1s. We were attacking those in order to address those. We were also looking at what could we do to extend the life. So we have a crack seal program where we can go out and inject liquid asphalt into cracks in the roads. I will tell you, most places where we've done that, we get negative feedback like, what are you doing? It looks like crap, but the road ride's great. And all we're trying to do is extend the life of the pavement at a reasonable cost in order to get us to the point where that 5 roadway stays a 5 for a few more years until we can get to it in the paving program.
Sounds like you have an opportunity to share with our citizens how much some of these things cost and why you choose to use the injectable asphalt as opposed to redoing the road every time.
Well, the other problem that I shouldn't say problem, the other situation that comes
Or a
from having
challenge.
spent, we've done about 30% of the roadways in the city. And I call it pavement envy. Oh, wow, you paved over there. Why didn't you pave my road? That looks so nice. Well, if your roadway is a 7 in our rating scale, it rides fine. It may have a few cracks, but it rides fine, and it doesn't cause any problems. I mean, I get emails all the time. Well, the road's so bad that I'm having to replace the tires on my car. Okay, that's your opinion, but I don't necessarily believe that that's what's happening, especially when I go out and ride the road and like, there's nothing wrong with this road. So I'm happy to share that information. I know it was probably been a year or so since I gave the update on our overall infrastructure program, what we spent on the various programs. I'd be happy to create an update to it to present it since you're back new to the council so that you could have the information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just learned that we have had 97 views on the City of Bradenton government YouTube channel.
And now what?
97 views
Today.
from last week when we started the channel, actually.
Wow.
Chief, you have anything?
56,000 people, but 97 views.
How many did you have
Money well
before?
spent.
How many did you have before?
It was.
Try not to touch it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Foremost, I want to thank the council for approving the police contract today, as well as Mr. Callahan and Ms. Beauchamp's efforts in facilitating that. I know it was a long time coming. I know the officers have had a lot of anxiety about that, along with everything else, and I think it's reaffirming for them to see that kind of support, particularly at a time like now. I do want to call your attention to something I think is important, because as the chief of police, I need to ensure that misinformation isn't publicly put out there without a response by me. I'll tell you, back in May, there was a comment made by Mr. Sanders during a meeting that a half dozen examples of where council oversight should have occurred at the PD, indicating mismanagement from the leadership team at the police department had occurred. A follow-up email by me requesting a meeting or a phone call to let me know what these mismanagement issues were so I could address them either with my agency or at least explain, maybe more fully, went unanswered. I didn't get any kind of response. Today, and I may have this quote a little off, it caught me by surprise. Mr. Sanders made mention that he was against not the rank and file, and thank you for that, because I'm going to say one more time that we've got an agency full of heroes. They save people, they save dogs. They're doing a great job out there, but he said that he was against bad policing policies by very few. Again, I'm going to assume that this speaks to me and my management team, and I just want to make sure that the community and this council is aware that as part of the accreditation process that we embarked on a couple years ago, which we now have, by the way, and which we're up for in another year, that's actually managed by the same person that's going to be having some involvement with the Citizen Advisory Committee. A team of individuals comes in and reviews every single police department policy that we have to ensure that it meets their criteria, as well as model policies that have been set forth by the state. We received our accreditation back then, and I fully expect with the diligence and hard work of my staff, we're going to receive it again. Mr. Mayor, I think it's a disservice to this community and a great liability for the city for someone to assert that we have poor policies in place without bringing those policies to my attention. So I will simply ask one more time, if any member, if any elected member has a concern about any policies, if they'd like to see any policies, if they'd like to discuss any policies, please let me know. I have an open door policy. I'm more than happy to discuss anything, to provide a roadmap to where we are, where we're at with regards to a lot of things. But what I will tell you is that I think our policies are beyond reproach. We can always improve, we can always tweak, we can always change. But I don't think the Bradenton Police Department has bad policing policies. I think that casts a shadow on my agency, an agency that I'm very proud of. So that's it, sir.
Thanks, Chief. Chief, you have anything? Callahan?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Ms. Beauchamp touched on it on the CARES Act. You recall a couple of months ago, maybe 30 days ago, I can't remember how long, both us and the county received CDBG CARES Act funding. And in the newspaper, the county was very specific to point out that those funds were only going to Manatee County residents. Okay. In the most recent press release, and it was rightfully so, those were CDBG funds that should have been only eligible for their folks. We had CDBG funds that are only eligible for us, and we've used those. You guys have directed those funds. I was just a bit concerned when the last press release came out about the $70 million and the 3 tranches of dollars that would be out there for businesses and be able to help pay for utility bills and things like that, that in that instance, they assume that everybody understands that's for all Manatee County residents, including all the municipalities. But because they'd made such an effort before to indicate that it did not include the municipalities, I wanted to reach, and I did reach out to them saying I wish that their press releases and any correspondence, certainly with like the Bradenton Herald, would indicate that those funds are available for all residents regardless of municipality or Manatee County. We put that in our press releases. We put that on our website so people are aware. I'm hoping Ryan, because he wrote an article the other day, could again make sure that there's nothing out there that makes it think that the municipal people are not available, because it is for everyone in the county. I thought that was important. I reached out to the administrator saying, and to their PIO saying, when you do that, can you please make it very clear that it's to everyone? Just trying to make sure our residents have that available, and they're going to Manatee County to try to get those funds, but it will be, they are perfectly fine with being able to do that. The other thing is on the economic development position, certainly I welcome whatever y'all want to do there. A couple of things, my thoughts on that are, historically, we just created economic development. We attempted 3 years ago or so to be able to hire an economic development director. By not doing that, we are probably haven't maybe advanced as far in economic development as we'd like. Our CRAs are doing great. Okay, the CRAs are doing really good. And that's a little history lesson just for all of us. We've hired between Thoreau, Kennedy, Gustafson, Halliburton, Polk, and Callahan. We've got a lot of folks that's not necessarily their expertise. They're filling in, trying to do a great job. I would recommend when you look at moving forward, it's probably not as much a CRA director. Jesus is very good with CRAs. KK is very good with CRAs, but how do you really approach it that it is an economic development director, which is different than a CRA director, much different than a CRA director. We know CRAs, you know CRAs, Jesus knows CRAs. but that person that's reaching out in the community every single day, that's their primary focus, is to reach out in the community for economic development. I think that's the key attribute you're going to be looking for in a new director. In the current budget that we're looking at, I have included a separate position of economic development director that's different than me. Starting to make that, thinking that's where you want to go, and put that in the 2021 budget as that way. So we're starting to get there. However you want to get to that point is fine. I think, we had tons of old resumes, but those are 3 years old. We found out that stuff that's a month and a half old, people are maybe changing their minds. So we'll probably should get out there and look at the same sources up front, FRA, this things, to try to get that position out there. If you want an interim position, that's certainly available to you to be able just to carry over for a while as we're moving forward with other responsibilities. But that's just kind of my thoughts on that. More than welcome it, but realize what the position really needs is it's 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, that's what they're doing. We can carry on with CRAs. Those are working pretty well. That's all my report. Thank you.
Scott, do you have anything?
All right.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Hearing none? We stand adjourned.